Right then, ladies and gentlemen, to SimPlay Motorsport. We get ready to go once again here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. It is Pro-Am time, and it is great to see so many faces out there on this grid. I'm your host, Mathew Duffin, joined in the commentary box once again by Dan Davis. If I'm a little quiet, please let me know in the chat, and we will sort that out. But it's going to be a fantastic night here. The Hot Lap Circuit, as most drivers will know, you have to do a hot lap around this track to be categorised into which group you will be in before being able to compete in any race. And Dan, this is now going to prove a little bit of what people have been doing hot lap times compared to what they're doing now. Obviously, BOP included, and track conditions different.
Yeah, definitely. So, as Hux in the chat, I apologise that your shreddies have got warm. We'll make sure they get cooled down once again, because we should have some interesting weather lingering around for Pro-Ams tonight, so that will definitely cool your shreddies down. But yeah, the hot stint circuit, not hot lap, hot stints, is this is basically where we see where everyone is categorised throughout the championship. And the reason we chose this circuit, Matt, is probably the most well-rounded and well-balanced circuit there is on the calendar. You've got fast corners, you've got slow corners, you've got you've got medium speed corners, you've got a long straight, you've got short straights, and you've got a tight, twisty section. So it is the prime example and a prime reasoning for using this as our hot stint. The difference that these drivers will find, especially this evening, is the hot stints are done on purely single players. So there's no BOP introduced on the single player. In the lobby tonight, the BOP is produced. So this means that the cars will either be faster or even slower than usual that they would on single player due to the BOP that's added to the car. For example, my Lexus would would lose 40 kilos, so it'd make it much lighter than I would have done on the hot stints compared to racing on here. So you are going to see some variance where some drivers might have gone faster than the hot stints and others might have gone slow. Well balanced, and as you can see already, Matt, top 10 separated by a second.
Yeah, which is very, very interesting, and it's going to make for great racing out there, that is for sure. And what Dan was saying there with the BOP, I brought up on screen momentarily. If you look to the right-hand side, it says handicap minus or plus. That is the BOP for the cars, not per driver. So it will be interesting to keep our eyes on and see what happens throughout there tonight. But at the minute, Dan, bit of a surprise at the top of the timing screen so far. It's Paul Williams, who's been on him. He's been getting better and better as the weeks have gone on and gone by. Didn't expect to be seeing him at the top of the standings. That's where he is. He's in the chat now, and it's going to be an interesting one. But let's do a bit of maintenance work. First of all, we have several new drivers and a returning face. Sadly, one of the new drivers cannot get in at the moment. She would be our second female driver to take part on the grid. It's saying the server is full. We have checked all information and all is okay. So we are not sure why this is not letting her on. So it's going to be interesting to see that. But we have several drivers out there. If we just drop down to the back of the grid, we've got Ian Best, who's currently pulled up for the Wind Up Motorsport team, teaming alongside that of his fellow friend and teammate Mathew Hicks, who is out there in the pit lane as well, running the white and red striped livery car. We also have Jamie in the lobby as well. He's in a McLaren. And then the returning face is that of Dean Wysocki, who has not done the first half of the season. He's decided to come back now, Dan, after a bit of a break, and see what he can do and give it a go. The other driver tonight that we are missing at the moment is Ellie, which is a sad shame, obviously, to be our second female driver. We're not quite sure what's happened there as well.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. We're trying to investigate. This is why the server's taken a reset, and also a reason why we are delayed ever so slightly. We are trying to find a solution and why this has not worked. Everything from our end looks correct, and even on her side it looks correct. So we'll have to investigate it later on in the season. But it should allow them all to get in. I don't know if it's possibly because of the commentators are in here. It shouldn't really be that, but either way, we will get down to it, and we will hopefully see Ellie next time at Valencia for sure. Nice to see a lot of chat already in the top chat already. 31 people currently watching already. They've clearly just come for the banter between you and me and Matt, because let's be honest, me and you are like Matt Neal and Jason Plato. We just can't get away from one another.
No, we can't. And yeah, you come for the banter. That's fine. You come for the banter. You stay because you end up falling in love with us. It's brilliant to see so many faces out there in the Pro-Am chat tonight. Hooks is already there, Micro J's, Tips, Paul Williams, Matt Wright, Fraser's in there, as well as Robert Ramsell, Fury's Grandad and Alex Jacobs. Robert Ramsell, I want to apologise to you. I reset the lobby before informing you due to these technical problems we was having earlier. So I do apologise for that one in terms of your setup. But great to see everybody in there. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up as well. Race 1 though, Dan, here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya in the championship stands. We haven't got the fancy graphic today. You're going to have to speak with John Gooday about that one.
I believe there's also an actual gap in the grid, so that's surely where Ellie should have been, I'm guessing.
Just in front of Dean Wasocki, I think that is, isn't it?
That is correct, yes. So maybe an extra driver into the... she should be there. That's where her car should be. But nonetheless, we are sadly going to have to miss her for this one, but gives her a little bit more practice, Valencia, in a week's time. Obviously, before we talk about race 1, Matt, I want to talk about last night on the GT4s. Obviously, with all the excitement and chaos that was going on, I had a message from Skunky late in the evening to mention that Stardog, who won the first race, I completely lost track and forgot. It was his first race win in a long time, from what I can figure out, and also his first win in this championship. So I've got to congratulate him on that, and he said it's a big achievement for himself. And Stardog, if you are listening, well done on last night, and just well done to all the GT4 drivers. If you want to see some great racing, and tight racing at that, it was dramatic, it was fast, it was intense. And I lost my voice by the end of the night. So rewatch that race. It is in the live videos in the YouTube channel. And while you're there, like and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to be notified. And as you're there, head into the Discord as well to join the server and join the championship if you want to be a part of the action. But regarding race 1, Matt, reverse grid, Michael's on pole. But we got a very fast Steve Millington on the front row. As also Robert Ramsell, who took his first win last time out as well at Snetterton. So I think we could be seeing another Cam Racing win, but this time they're going away with Steve Millington. He had pace last time out at Snet. Now he's at the front. Now he's got clean air. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I don't see why not, and as well, just want to echo the thoughts of Stardog Barclay. Congratulations on the first win. Great to see another. We enjoy a new winner at SimPlay Motorsport, and it's great to see a guy who, like Dan says, Skunky had messaged Dan and hasn't won in a while, so it's great to see someone who's not won in a while back up at the sharp end of the grid. But back to the race, I do agree. Robert Ramsell, Stephen Millington, got to be two of the favourites tonight. But I'm also looking at Argent and Luke Saunders in 6th and 7th. They could possibly pose a threat. The BMW, not great around here, it has to be said. So it's going to be interesting to keep our eyes on, as well as all them drivers down the back end of the grid. DJ Phil and Rishi Michelle have both myths to start, and obviously Jamie, Ian Best, Dean Wasocki and Mathew Hicks will be lining up at the back of the grid. That is a huge one for them.
For Richie Michelle,
that really is a big one. That could really hurt him.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm expecting the Ferrari to be relatively strong around here. From what I've heard from Pro Pace, and the weather for Pro is meant to be a lot brighter. Let's put it that way. The Ferrari's looking very strong around here, but everything should be relatively well balanced. You go about the BMW, if any of the guys are in the Discord, and first ever win in any league. Oh, well, even better than Skunky. Congratulations to Stardog, and he done it first here at SimPlay Motorsport. And if you want to be your
first ever first win
on any other league anywhere.
Then, fair play. Well then, fair enough. Thank you for that information, Skunky, because fair play to Stardog Barclay then. Well done to him. Even better effort.
Well, as we come into the final corner now, and if you want to be like Stardog and win a league race, then join up on the Discord, as we are going to go 2 by 2 down the main straight, Nissan versus Ferrari, and we are going to wait for the green here for the first race tonight, and we are green, and we got a drive-through for the 79. That is Ian Best. He has got a drive-through. And as they all start working their way down to turn number 1, Richie Michelle in pit lane. This is going to hurt his championship start.
Dan, I've just noticed that Dean Wisoki's also in the pit lane then, so he must have been out of position at the start and been teleported. Not sure why he's back in the pit lane. He'll be coming away with the other cars, but Michael got away really well, and Robert Smith is already putting Stephen Millington under some pressure. Lando Norris is around at turn 1, then so that's going to allow Richie Michelle to possibly gain a place pretty quickly there, but Stephen Millington, Rob Smith, then a bit of a train behind Robert Ramsell. That is then... Player Man, I believe, who was coming under a bit of pressure. Argent has tumbled down the pack from the start of this lap. Sorry, it was Cranky Duckhead coming under pressure from Player Man, with Luke Saunders there as well. Rob Smith being able to do the exact thing he needed to do. And Corbel and Player Man both have been tapped round, and it is absolute chaos further down the pack. That is Argent who's also been spanned. Corbel, Player Man, Brian Craig is off, and a disastrous start. But once again, look, Richie Michelle is just going to pick his way through the field and be able to pick up them places there.
Yeah, Lando Norris also benefiting from that one as well. He managed to work his way back through, even though he's been spun around at the beginning. But once again, it's that Godzilla of the GTR leading the way of Michael, and he's got a healthy lead at the minute over Steve Millington. But I think over time, he'll start to bring that gap in. The old Ferrari of Rob Smith, with one of the weirdest ways of selecting a car, is in third place with Robert Ramsell right behind. Could we see another Cam Racing 1-2 as they did out in Snetterton a week ago?
Yeah, can we see a 1-2 there? We saw it at Snetterton. Gary Clauble put them under some pressure that day. He's not going to be able to now after being tapped around there. Luke Saunders down to 6th. Mirko Ritchie just behind him. Paul Williams is up to 9th. Watch for him. He was the quickest man in FP1, so keep your eyes on what he's going to be able to do.
On the move as well.
John Gooday down the order. Jamie is on the move. He's up to 13th already, and that's him getting past Robert Smith. So Jamie already having a great start. Good evening to Cloud and Peaceful Stepdad and PM Motorsport in the chat, as well as look at these come down the straight. Steve Beck now fancies a look up the inside of Robert Smith as they're headed towards turn 1. Ian Bester's coming for his drive-through penalty, and Steve Beck up the inside. Nicely done. Room given from both. Still together through 2. This is then going to turn into 3. These first 3 corners all come together, and it isn't done till the end of turn 3 in towards 4. And Beck now up the inside gets that one done. The teammates behind her, Dennis Hansen and Casper Olin, are also going at it side by side in towards turn 4. They come now, and Dennis Hansen has to wait behind Casper Olin, who's looking right around the outside there then of Robert Smith, but he goes a little too deep, and that's going to allow Dennis Hansen up the inside. Outside though for turn 5, and Olin lets him go.
Ian Best has now set his drive through, and he's come back out. Michael setting fast a lap of the race, but the gap has come down to half a second, and Robert Ramsell has now cleared Rob Smith as well. So now it's a Cam Racing 2-3, going to try and hunt down Michael and try and hold on to that race lead. That GTR should be mighty in a straight line. I think it's the 2nd or the 3rd fastest car in a straight line, so the Ferrari's going to have difficulty trying to out-drag that. But Cranky Duckhead's having a good start as well. He's up in the 6th and holding on to that. But Gomez, the other strong starter as well, in the BMW, now onto the back of Rob Smith. Can Rob Smith keep himself in the top 10 while he tries to hang in there? Jamie, meanwhile, going toe-to-toe with some of the top drivers already in this class, and he's on the back of John Gooday and Paul Williams, who is one of the fastest in the possession.
He is indeed. We're watching Justin Winter, who's on the back of Luke Saunders. He got past Mirko Ritchie coming through the hairpin corner. He now then he got into the back of Luke Saunders there, and this BMW just showing how much it struggles a little bit through these final couple of corners here at Catalunya. Then down the start straight they come. It is Justin Winter right on the rear wing of the BMW of Luke Saunders, just in front of him, as Player Man, I believe, is just leaving the pit lane now after repairing his damage. He's gone a lap down. Look at John Gooday in the background, going side by side with Paul Williams, and I believe John Gooday is managing to defend that position at the moment. Paul trying to put the pressure on him, having a look at the inside of turn 3, but John not showing him the door fully open. Millington's got fastest lap, and he's dropped off the back of Michael, I'm just noting, and it is all about that Justin Winter Luke Saunders fight as Luke Saunders goes up the inside of Cranky Duckhead, and Winter's into the back of him.
Winters has gone into the back of him, and more chaos, and Mirko Ritchie's been caught up in that as the Cranky Duckhead doing what is said in the rules, and he's holding his brakes and not moving until there's a clear opportunity. And what a shame for Cranky Duckhead. A great start to this race, but Mirko Ritchie in all sorts of strays.
That is Casper. Sorry, Dan. That is Casper Olin, I believe. Dennis Hansen and Mirko Ritchie all around coming through the downhill part of turn 5, and Mirko's got some heavy damage. It is very what we like to call here pro-am in this race so far. It is little taps on the rear that are causing these drivers to spin.
Indeed it is. Meanwhile, Rob Smith is under some immense pressure from Gomez at this stage. The pit window has now opened, so people who have got damage can pit, but These guys in the mid-pack have slowly been working their way up. Where's Robert Smith in all this? He's still in 11th place, but his championship rival at the minute, Richie Michelle, is in 16th, and he's fighting Lando Norris at the minute, and Lando has gone wide, and Richie Michelle, that's another position done. Or is it? Because Lando Norris was behind him, so was Lando attacking the Lamborghini instead of defending?
Good evening to Patrick Ledger in the chat, winner of the Sprint Racing Pro last time out, and what a race it was for him. Robert Ramsell has decided to pull the trigger. So is Michael and Paul Williams, Robert Smith, Dennis Hansen. Few drivers just coming into the pit lane. Here comes the Lamborghini now of Richie Michelle on the back of Stephen Beck, coming down the start straight. You see the damage on the front of Beck's car. Michelle pulls out up in towards turn 1. Who's going to be brave here on the brakes? Can Beck keep it around the outside? Richie Michelle up the inside. Lovely move. Beck can't really come back at him there either, and Michelle gets that place done. Francisco Gomez, who, like Dan says, really getting on the back now of Robert Smith and really trying to make a nuisance for himself. But Justin Winter, side by side, you see there in the background on that of Luke Saunders, and once again backs out of that to try and tuck underneath. Justin Winter's car every week, Dan, seems sideways on the exit of corners.
It just seems the way he sets the car up is very loose. Meanwhile, Michael has pitted, as has Robert Ramsell, and Ramsell's got closer to Michael. So I think Michael's made a mistake here, and Steve Millington, with fastest lap, should jump Michael here.
Yeah, going to be interesting to keep our eyes on this one. Lando Norris on the back of Stephen Beck now. We've got a few cars still out there on the circuit this lap. Good evening to Andrew in the chat. It's NLR Andy here, so good evening to Andrew from the GT4s last night. As we come,
cleared Robert Smith.
Gomez, there we go. That is Robert Smith. No, that's Argent. Sorry, in the background.
There's too many Robert Smiths.
That isn't Robert Smith. That was Argent. Apologies. So Argent has put the lap on player man Robert Smith. Did his pit stop on the last lap, and that's why he is down the order. So Gomez has cleared that of Rob Smith. Just keeping an eye on the drivers that's pitting. Justin Winter right under the rear wing, nearly into the gravel trap on the exit of the final corner. Really making sure he takes every bit of track he can possibly go. John Gooday into the pits, and here comes Richie Michelle. That didn't help. Here comes Justin Winter. That didn't help him down the start straight.
No, not much. I'm sorry. I've been keeping an eye on who's coming in the pits. Casper Rolling got major damage to the front of his car. He's surely got a pit. No, he's staying out. And DJ Phil looks like he's staying out as well. And Dean Wasocki, 15th at the minute. Not the furthest one down. Ian Best did pit earlier on. He did his drive-through. He's still yet to do his pit stop as well. And one of the newer drivers, Mathew Hicks as well. The two wind-up motorsports not having the debut they wanted. But Gooday done his stop. Where is the Nissan? There it is, going down the main straight in 16th place position. So John Gooday off the limiter now. He should be in a fight with Robert Smith. Yeah, he is. And they're going to merge out together. And
Robert Ramsell's right behind Michael now. So this is pretty good so far in terms of that for Stephen Millington. Stop-go penalty for the 52. Argent. That is Kieran Argent. And it said from race control, I reckon that he's speeding in the pit lane, has to be. He came into the pits a moment ago, so he's probably taken the limits a little too harsh. Justin Winter still stuck behind. But it is Stephen Millington out there on his own at the moment, 5 seconds clear of Gomez. Then it's Rob Smith in the old Ferrari 488, followed by Luke Saunders, Justin Winter. Then Jamie on his debut, old sim racer with Richie Michelle right behind him. A great pace from Richie Michelle to see started from the pit lane. Steve Beck from Lando Norris, they're together as well on track. Casper Rollins, he's got big damage. Not sure if that's been from this lap. DJ Phil's gaining on him. Dean Wasocki's in there in the background. And he's got what is net, possibly race leader, possibly second place right behind him. That is for position, so Dean will not have to get out of the way here, but it's going to just be a little bit of a nuisance to Michael while Steve Millington is in the pit lane.
This is going to help Millington out massively, and he's probably getting some communication between himself and his teammate Robert Ramsell, who's probably told him, look, pit now. He was stuck in traffic and he has been dropped already, and Michael has only now got to the chicane and he's cleared Dean Wasocki, as will Robert Ramsell. And Dean just gives him enough room, and Dean comes into the pits. Stephen Millington's done and gone before they even get onto the straight. Yeah, Stephen Millington might want to DM Dean Wasocki after that one, because I think he would have jumped him anyway, but Dean Wasocki has held him an absolute treat. Lando's had a good stop as well. That has got him ahead. Lando has had a good stop. So Michael's through, Robert Ramsell's through. Where's John Gooday? He's there with Robert Smith. Lando not yet off the limiter. There's Paul Williams. Dennis Hansen coming down the straight, just trying to look out for Lando Norris. He's off the limiter now. Brian Craig not close enough, so he is just behind that then of
of Casper Olin, I believe it was, or Dennis Hansen, apologies. Justin Winslow, still P4, still right under that rear wing of Luke Saunders. He's on the grass, breaking into the hairpin. You don't want to be on the grass, breaking into the hairpin. You just see the rear step out just a little bit. And at the moment, this is Justin Winter really, really driving on the ragged edge.
Yeah, indeed. Someone in the chat is asking how Mathew Hicks is getting on. He's currently down in 24th position at the minute. Got caught up in some incidences earlier on, so he's trying to work his way back up the order and trying just to assess the drivers here. That's one of the things you need to learn from the first race. It's just know who you're racing, and once you get that under grip, so as Luke Saunders now pits, but once you figure out who you're racing and who you can race with, that's when you can start really testing the waters, and the feature race will definitely help you in that. But Justin Winter now been released from the BMW. Can he do anything about Rob Smith and Gomez, who will probably have to look to pitting next lap?
Yeah, Richie Michel's been released by... I can't remember who's in front of him. Old Sim Racer was just in front of him, so he's been released by him. It is Kieran Argent, who's just finished his stop-go penalty, then coming down the straight. As Skunk saying, some new drivers racing tonight. Good to see. It's incredibly good to see. John Gooday's under a bit of pressure from Robert Smith, but John Gooday in that Mercedes-Benz, what can he do? Playerman's in. Mathew Hicks still got to pit, and a few cars still leaving it till late here. 3 minutes 30 left, so there's still a chance to carry on your way. Robert Ramsell just passes that of Luke Saunders as they come out of the pit lane. But Luke Saunders here, that's an incredibly good stop. He's came out P4, I do believe, net.
Yeah, that's where roughly he was anyway, I think. So it's relatively where he should be. You talk about Richie Michel having a good start to the race. Cars did start pitting relatively early, so it made him look like he's further up than he actually is. Yeah, I think now Richie Michel will have to start. He has to pit now. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes leaving it late isn't always the worst thing. Dennis Hansen now setting fastest lap of the race and trying to work his way up through the order. It's going to be interesting where the top 6 drop in after their pit stops. Mathew Hicks is now into the pits as well. But Clouden in the chat saying, not wrong, SimPlay getting stronger by the day. And it is indeed. I'm already sweating to the idea of tomorrow night.
I think Richie Michel can possibly go an extra lap here. Gomez is in. Rob Smith's gone an extra lap. Winter's in. Jamie's going an extra lap. I think Richie Michel could also go an extra lap here. 2:22 left on the clock. Remember, to be categorised as completing your pit stop, you have to be in the pits. You have to be on your limiter, over the pit limiter line for it to class as pit stop.
Yes.
I think he's got enough here in the bag, possibly to push an extra lap with clean. Massively. That's the downfall, isn't it, to this?
Yeah, exactly. You could push the limits as much as you like, but it takes one mistake, one driver to drop it in front of you, you get collected, and then you got major damage. You never get in there.
And the one thing to mention as well is the time loss for a perfect pit stop with, in and out, 1 litre of fuel, 38 seconds. You lose 29% of your lap if you change tyres. So, for example, Kieran's had the stop-go penalty, which is pretty much a tyre change pit stop. That is a 65-second pit stop in 30 seconds out. He lost 63% of his lap. So it will hurt you around here. 38 seconds is a good chunk, 29% of the lap, a good chunk to be losing. And, well, what's Richie Michel ahead of Gomez? I don't think he's 38 seconds ahead. So it's going to be interesting to see. He's 20 seconds, ahead of Millington. And Millington to Michael is 4, 5, maybe 6.
The other risk as well with leaving it this late, you're going to have to try and get into the pit at quite some speed, and the risk of just going too fast in.
Yeah, speeding.
It's going to be too much at that point. Phase it in the chat. Really keen to know what's happening with the wind-up racing boys. Currently at the back of the pack, both in 25th and 26th position. You're going to have to scrap the sprint race and focus purely on the feature.
A little team battle, though, going off between the pair of them.
Yeah, very much so. Get to grips on what's going on and get the last-minute tweaks and changes done to their car. Dennis Hansen's giving Paul Williams a hard time at the minute. The 2 McLaren drivers going at it. I think Richie Michel is going to drop into this fight, this Paul Williams-Dennis Hansen fight, and Robert Smith. They're all relatively close to one another. I don't think he's cleared enough cars, in my opinion.
No, I don't think. I'm just trying to have a count now. It's about 26 seconds to Robert Ramsell. You're looking about 29 to Luke Saunders. Francisco Gomez. Yeah, I think he's around the Rob Smith, John Gooday Rob Smith, John Gooday, as John Gooday has a massive wiggle, and is that Francisco who's had a moment? Francisco's off as well, and Paul Williams going to get around the outside of him, and as is Dennis Hansen, is he? No, he's not, goes up the inside of the chicane. Contact between the three of them, and both the McLarens have gone around. Rob Smith is leaving the pit lane, Millington's through, Michael's through, Ramsell's through, Luke Saunders is through. Here comes Rob Smith. Robert Smith. Rob Smith is off the limiter. There's Justin Winter. There's John Gooday. Richie Michel is off the limiter now. It's set around John Gooday. He's just behind that of Francisco. So you'd have been right, Dan. Paul Williams and Dennis Hansen. But due to them spinning around, that's 2 extra places he's gained in the pit stop.
It is indeed. An old sim racer was the car in front of him after the pit lane, and he is now behind him. So he has gained a position, but he is dropping down the order. He's going to be around 12th place position. Meanwhile, his championship contender, Robert Smith, is up into 6th, so he's gaining points as it stands now. And this is what Robert Smith needs this back end of the season. Richie Michel has got that advantage with points at the minute, but he needs to start chipping away bit by bit and try and get that luck and hope that Richie Michel ends up in some bad luck. He's in 11th place at the minute, so there's still points, and he's got clear cars to clear. Richie Michel can do a Max Verstappen. He's built the gap. He can just slowly score points bit by bit at this stage of the race. Meanwhile, Steve Millington with a comfortable gap leading out in front of Michael in second, who's still holding his own, but he's got Robert Ramsell trying to hunt him down for the last 4 minutes of this race.
Just noticing John Gooday's dropped back a couple of places here, and he's now ended up behind Justin Winter and behind Jamie, so he's lost out 2 places over this last lap. Not good to see from him. Richie Michel now on the back of Francisco Gomez, dropping down the order as well. You've got his teammate Mirko Richie being caught by Gary Clarbel. The Constructors is another battle as well that's happening. Obviously 117 points between the 2 Team Dane Train cars and that of the 2 Richie Corsa cars. Now where's the Dane Trains? Casper Ollin's 19th. Okay, so he's going to outscore Mirko. Dennis Hansen currently not outscoring Richie Michel, so not even really a good night for them two in terms of picking up points to the Constructors. It is all about what Robert Smith can do and Justin Winter can do to outscore that of Richie Michel, because Richie Michel's currently outscoring Old Sim Racer and Dennis Hansen in terms of the 5 at the front. Robert Ramsell, though, still trying to just get on the back of Michael. That is 9/10 of a second. Drop that down to half a second between the battle of the Robs. Rob versus Robert, Ferrari versus BMW, and they're both the Smiths as well, as they're coming towards turn number 4 now. Robert Smith is that in the blue BMW behind Rob Smith then, and they're just having a little look and a bit of a play with each other there. Richie Michel having a look up the inside of Francisco Gomez. Had a big look. Thought of a dive, but backed out of that one. Lando Norris is behind Old Sim Racer. Dropping down the pack. Gary Clarbel still on the back of Mirko Richie. No, he's not, because Mirko Richie's at the hairpin. Gary Clarbel has got huge damage to the front of his car. Not sure what has happened there.
Doesn't look like any contact to the Lamborghini, because there's no damage to him. Meanwhile, Lando Norris is standing up the inside of Old Sim Racer. He has run wide and taken track limits. He might have to yield that time ever so slightly, but he does stay in front of the Ferrari driver. Meanwhile, Richie Michel still trying to find a way on Gomez, and unless you have a massive advantage in the car, it's very difficult to gain the positions round here in Catalonia. There's no real good overtaking opportunities except for turn 1 and possibly the hairpin in the final corner.
Well, this is riding on board with Richie Michel on the dashboard camera of that Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2, coming through the final couple of corners here. As you can just see, let's see the difference in the speed down the start straight. BMW versus Lamborghini. Steve Millington has started that final lap of the race. Could be a great result for the CAM Racing team, as well as for Michael back on the podium.
Robert Smith is attacking Rob. He's heading down towards turn number 1. The BMW trying to out-drag the old Ferrari. He's up the inside, and that is another position for Robert Smith. That's what he needs to gain here. Sorry, Matt.
That's all right. Richie Michel did not get nowhere near the back of Francisco under the break-ins where he's closed up. So struggling there is Richie Michel at the moment. We didn't get to see the onboard camera, but when we changed back to him after the Robert Smith battle, he just had lost out a little bit more time. So maybe a poor run out the final corner. Robert Ramsell, though, now, Dan, looking for another Cam 1-2 right on that rear wing of Michael, who's in second place in this race in that Nissan. It'll be great to see Godzilla on the podium with the 2 prancing horses. And it's a fantastic race, or fantastic 2 sets of sprint races for the CAM Racing team. Robert Ramsell really close to that rear wing now of Michael, coming up to what would be the second DRS zone in the Formula 1. Down the back straight they go. There was Steve Millington putting a lap on Mathew Hicks. Down the bottom of your screen, Rob Ramsell has a look up the inside, comes back to the outside because because Michael just keeps that car in the middle of the road. I think it could all be done. It's going to be close to watch. We are, though, going to tune in
I think it's done.
to that of Steve Millington. What a drive this man has had. Third place, second place, fourth place, 19th place, and now he's going to take a race win for his troubles as well. What an absolute outstanding drive from the young man. He has done terrific here, and he's going to take his first ever race win at SimPlay Motorsport. It's another new race winner in 2 nights. Michael is going to hang on in there from Robert Ramsell for P3. Luke Saunders is going to just hang in there over Robert Smith as well, with that of Rob Smith. Then it's Justin Winter. Jamie comes across on debut P8. John Good AP9, with Francisco Gomez hanging on in for 10th, Richie Michelle 11th, Lando Norris 12th, Sim Racer 13th, Dennis Hansen 14th, and the fastest lap, Steve Beck. Bit of damage to the front, P15. Brian Craig, quiet race for him. Didn't really mention Brian Craig much in this one. That's P16 for him. Paul Williams down in 17th. Couldn't turn that practice run into a fast one here in race 1. Cranky Duckhead, P18, down the order as well at the moment. He's going to come across the line. He's a little further back.
Wow, a dramatic race in here already as Cranky Duckhead crosses the line. Casper Olin's going to come home from 19th with major damage to the front of his car. DJ Phil's going to finish in 20th, with Dean Masocki up in 21st. Mirko Ricci, not sure what happened to him. He ended up just dropping way off in the end. Not sure why. So he's going to come in for 22nd, and then Argent for 23rd. Mathew Hicks for 24th. 25th is Ian Best. And Player Man 26th, and Gary Clarble in 27th place position. Fastest lap went to Dennis Hansen. But again, Matt, it's a Ferrari 1 and 3 of the Cam Racing duo. Brilliant stuff from there. To be fair, Richie Michelle looked like he was struggling towards the end, as Lando Norris and Robert Smith both looked mighty right at the end of that race.
Yeah, they really did. And Richie Michelle, you have to say, what happened to him? Because he was gaining on the back of the BMW, and then, just like you say, just fell off the edge of a cliff and had nothing left in the tank as Argent comes across the line, and Gary Clarble is in the pits for that damage. We are just awaiting Gary Clarble to finish this race. But what an opener to this evening. It has been a great start to the night if you are the Cam Racing team. Yet again, 1-2 in race 1 last week, 1-2 in race 1, 1-3 in race 1 this week. What a start. We will be back in a couple of moments time with the first qualifying of the evening and race 2. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to SimPlay Motorsport here for the second race of the afternoon, the first qualifying session of the day. Just reading a few of the chats during the mid-session break that Skunky was saying we need some mid-interval entertainment. Those sexy ladies at boxing matches doing the ring walks. I don't know if we'll be able to get them on the chat, on the screen. Dan Davis, gotta love Prime. Chaos, but entertaining to watch. Good evening to Dean Wisocki as well. He says it's nice to be back on the grid. It is, though, qualifying. Francisco Gomez is no longer going to be the first car to start lap time. That is going to be that of Richie Michel. He's just let Richie Michel go at the final corner. The tables, though, look like this. This man has a 118-point lead in the championship over Dennis Hansen, with old Sim Racer in third. Robert Smith jumps Justin Winter for P4 and 5. Stephen Beck in P6. John Gooday moves up to 7th place with Sam down in 8th. Obviously no Sam here tonight. Casper Ollin is P9 ahead of Mirko Ritchie down in 10th. Paul Williams in 11th with Lando Norris 12th. From Francisco, Gary Clarbel. Luke Saunders, player man. Brian Craig, Robert Rams up to 18th with Monkey Boy 19th. Kieran Argent, Fat Bloke, Cranky Duckhead. Rob Smith, DJ Phil, Steve Millington. What a drive from him for his first race win. He's 25th with Darren Bell 26th. The Jackal, who's in the lobby, great to see. From Michael Graham. Dean Vigus, Jamie already got climbing up the championship ahead of Lucas, Dean Wisocki, Mathew Hicks, Ian Best, Rushton, Ellie and Yoshi. We've figured out why Ellie couldn't get in the lobby as well. Team Richie Corsa lead the constructors by 116 points from Team Dane Train. The Stage 2 Motorsport boys trying to catch up as well. Greasy Bandits racing a P4. Just ahead of Forever Forward Racing from Team Tom, Team FBR, Roadrunner Bandits, Cam Racing, Team Merlot, McLaren Racing, the Naval Racing Team, Speedy Gonzalez Motorsport, Greasy Bandits, and then the Wind Up Motorsport. Richie Michel's about to finish his first qualifying lap here, and what lap time is it going to be on the board? That's going to be the biggest question. As Dan, he looked like he went off the boil at the end of race 1 there.
Yeah, ever so slightly. Seems to hit the peak. Obviously, the Lamborghini's not the strongest in a straight line. I've known from experience that it does struggle from time to time in straight lines. So that's why we were struggling to see it outdo the BMW, as it was Robert Smith who sets the first lap time. And it is a 45.0 as Richie Michel gets within a tenth of it already, and the pace is already getting tight at the top. Old Sim Racer just gets in there as well, with only 6/10 separating them as well. So this is going to be a very, very tight qualifying session.
Yeah, indeed it is. It's going to be massive to keep our eyes on who will be able to do what in this session. We're on board with Millington now, your race 1 winner. What a drive it was from him. He's had a good couple of weeks here at SimPlay Motorsport, and he's looking to add to that tally once again tonight by maybe taking his first pole position as well, then, as he comes in towards the final couple of corners now to complete his first flying lap, and is rounding that final corner. We're getting a slipstream just a little bit off that Porsche just in front as he comes down the pit straight now and goes and puts it P7 at the moment. Not a bad lap there from him, as Gary Clarbel's about to finish his first flying lap. We'll drop back to DJ Phil, who's on a lap a little further down the pack as well. Gary Clarbel doesn't put a lap time in. What about Ian Best, who crosses the line? He also doesn't put a lap time in, and just awaiting DJ Phil now.
Already the gap is relatively tight, down to first to 12th, down to Jamie is only a second, so it is close. Top 6 only separated by 6/10 as well, so they're all close to one another. DJ Phil is the next one to come to a line as DJ Phil exits the final corner now, and he comes to the line. No lap time put on the board, so Richie Michel looking to try and get a little bit closer to Robert Smith, who now comes to the line. Can he extend the gap? Oh. Yes, he can. He's in the 44s, 44.8 to his name, as now Richie Michel exits the final corner. Can he get the Lamborghini ahead of the BMW driver? No, he cannot. Another one to keep an eye on is Dennis Hansen later on in the lap.
Yeah, as driver starts to improve, Jamie now moves up into P8. We're going to try and pick up the 180. A lot of drivers very close to each other on the circuit, so it's going to be hard to try and pick up a couple of these drivers. Yellow flag, that's Dean Wisocki, who's having to wait patiently while all the cars come passing. Paul Williams moves himself up into P now. We're going to look to the number 4 of Lando Norris, half a second off of the pole time at the moment. Can he find any improvement here as he comes down towards the start finish straight to the line, goes up to P3 and halves that deficit.
Dennis Hansen 22 thousandths off Robert Smith. So Robert Smith in the BMW, you said, seemed to not to be very strong around here. was leading the way at this stage, but it's Dennis Hansen, his closest rival at the minute. And Dennis Hansen, after obviously going through the types, I thought Robert Smith was Richie Michel's closest threat. It is now Dennis Hansen after a superb Snetterton. He really needs to start getting the points in, and Steve Millington carrying on that performance is now into P3.
Yep, up into P3. Good lap from him. The 117 of Robert Smith looks like it's the next one on a valid lap. He actually just runs a little wide. Let's just keep an eye on that on the 418 coming out the final corner. That is player man. See if this will put a lap time on the board for him. Down towards the line he comes now. No lap time for him. Then it is the 53 of DJ Phil. Once again saying invalid as he comes through the final corner. And you just see that car so twitchy because you know that DJ Phil is on the pad. A big chaos it looks like at the hairpin. Few yellow flags there. DJ Phil puts a lap time on the board. Back though to Robert Smith. 22 thousandths of a second. Can he improve and pull away? No, he cannot. So possibly advantage back then to that of Dennis Hansen if he can improve his time. John Gooday goes 11th with his first flying lap.
This is ridiculous. The top 13 now as Richie Michel puts the lap time together, does a 44.5. So boys need to respond now because the Lamborghini is on pole position. Dennis Hansen now coming into the final sector as well. That is the 180 first though of Paul Williams, who looked good in practice. The pole's currently out, and who you think is going to take pole position. He now goes to P8. Dennis Hansen now next on a lap as Steve Beck crosses the line. And no improvement from him. What is Dennis Hansen? He goes top with a 44.2.
By a great bit of a margin there for Dennis Hansen. Then we're going to look for the 501 who's going to come to the line. That is Robert Ramsell. But Dennis Hansen taking pole by pretty much 3/10 of a second. Robert Ramsell improves to P11. The 52 and the 59 cross the line. I didn't see much change in position there. We're going to try and find the 88, that of Mathew Hicks, who comes round the final corner. Bit of support for Mathew Hicks and the Wind Up Motorsport boys in the chat. To the line he comes. No improvement this time around. What about the 79? That is his teammate Ian Best. He now rounds the final corner. He's been working hard. Wasn't really happy with his hot lap time. He's been working and working and working. He's got into the 49s. Now he's starting to feel a bit more comfortable with his pace, and that is great news here as the 53 will be next. Once again, of DJ Phil. Dean Wasocki has just gone into 25th. Michael, we know, doesn't like to qualify. He's also staying in the pit lane.
Yeah, he is indeed. Robert Smith, meanwhile, is into the chicane, following DJ Phil through the chicane. And if he gets a good exit and a good run out to the final corner, he's looking to try and improve on third place. And he comes down towards the line now. He's had a big wobble when he does improve, but doesn't go any higher. Richie Michel is then next to come to the line, and John Goudet, who's just in front of him. He's in 13th place position. Can John improve? No. Richie Michel gets in 28 thousandths of a second.
Here comes Luke Saunders and Old Sim Racer. Them two don't improve either. And what a tight qualifying this is at the top of the pack. Paul Williams got a bit of traffic in front of him. Maybe use these cars as a slipstream. Although one pulls into the pit lane. So down out the final corner comes Paul Williams now. What's his lap time going to be as he comes towards the line? He goes P8. The car 68 is coming to the line. I can't see any changes there from it. It does. Steve Beck moves up to 15th place. His teammate, we're going to try and pick up car 3 of Brian Craig. Didn't really see him much in race 1. A bit of a quiet race for him.
Right. Cranky Duckhead got up to 20th as Brian Craig now goes to 8th place as well. So lap times are starting to improve from drivers.
Yeah, they are starting to improve. Brian Craig, we didn't see him much in race 1, Dan, did he? And he's now quietly gone about his business up into P8.
Yeah, he got caught up in loads of incidences, didn't he, earlier on in the race? So he's really trying to recover. The 88 of Mathew Hicks comes to the line. No improvement from him either. And his teammate Ian Best exiting the final corner himself now 23rd at the minute. Can he find a little bit more time? No, he can't, but he's got plenty of time to go yet.
Dean Wasocki around to the final corner now on a valid lap. Towards the line he comes, finds a bit more time but stays down in 27th. Here comes Playerman next to the line, P26. He does find a bit more time, goes just ahead of DJ Phil Green. It's Robert Smith once again, Dan, next to the line. Just under half a second. No, he's bailed on a lap. He's going to return to the pit lane. It will be that then of John Gooday. This is the stage in this qualifying session, Dan. Drivers may return to the pits, put a fresh set of tyres on, just lower that fuel a little bit, maybe go for 1 or 2 more runs.
Yeah, they're going to nail. What I find most of the time, your first lap isn't your best. It's usually the second lap, so you've got to get that preparation lap in. John Goudet, no improvement. Luke Saunders now running the 77. Valtteri Bottas, his number. He goes to 6th place. An improvement there from him. And the top 2 guys, as Dennis Hansen comes to the line, no improvement. The top 2, even Robert Smith, knocking on the door of pro pace at the minute.
Yep, really interesting from them at the minute. Paul Williams now shoots himself up into P5, so a good lap there from Paul Williams. What about Steve Beck? He moves up into P8 as well, the 204. Keep your eyes on that. Justin Winter does move up into 8th place. We're going to go to the 999 of the Jackal. Dan, I'm just going to watch the Jackal. I'm going to have to run and grab myself a drink because for some reason my voice is starting to go.
It's probably listening to me and listening to my voice with the Jackal into the chicane, running the stars and stripes. Normally can't make the sprint, but usually does the feature, which is great to see. He exits the final corner. Here comes the Porsche driver, the 999. Can he put himself any higher? He goes into 22nd position. And while Matt runs off to get a drink, I'll try and keep my best and tell you what is happening. The 8-8, that is Mathew Hicks, no improvement. The 501, and that was Robert Ramsell, and no improvement from him. As we now look back to the back of the train once again, and drivers now looking to find those small changes and tweaks just to get them that little bit further. Player man to the line. Any improvement? No. Gary Clarball next to the line, currently sat in 8th place position. No improvement. Paul Williams is back into the pits, and Robert Smith. Can they get themselves back out on track? As Richie Michelle has gone straight on at the chicane. As the 52 of Argent is going to come to the line. I know we're probably watching somebody else right now, but Argent, no improvement from him, and I'll try my best to keep up to date with what is going on track. As John Goudet comes to the line, a lot of cars on invalid laps at this stage, and just trying to wind themselves up for the last couple of laps here. Robert Smith, Paul Williams, and Luke Saunders, no movement whatsoever. But at the minute, no improvements I'm seeing. Lando Norris has had a big moment, and he's gone off the 204. That is Justin Winter. He comes to the line, and no improvement from him either. 113, that is no, not 113. I'm looking for the 105. That is Rob Smith. He's coming to the line. Any improvement? Yes, he goes up into that 12th place position. The 32, that is Mirko Ricci. Can he find a bit more pace? He now goes up to 16th. So time is being found for drivers. The 999 is coming to the line. That is the Jackal once again. He's done a whole lap by the time Matt has got back.
Yeah.
And it's now the 88 we're looking at. And that again is Mathew Hicks. And I don't see, he's no improvement for him either.
No.
Seems to hit a little bit of a wall at the minute.
Yeah, drivers just can't seem to find that extra bit of time, can they? We're into that final bit, so any driver in the pit lane now, there's a lot of them, will not get a lap time in. There is plenty of space out there on the circuit to improve. The 32's now gone back to the pits. That's yellow flag. Player man to line stays in 25th spot. The 181's coming to the line, but it says he's on an invalid lap. That's Gary Clarball. Doesn't improve there. The 52 is out there on a lap. That is Argent down in 19th. He's just behind DJ Phil. So let's see if any of these two find an improvement down the back, down the start straight here. Argent to the line. He improves to 50th. DJ Phil stays 26th. Then it is John Goudet, who's up in down in P16. Sorry, he's not qualified strong this season, has he, Johnny? We've seen him qualify a lot better than this in previous seasons.
Yeah, well, he's probably told us that he's trying to, as Dennis Hansen improves the gap, he does a 44.1. He's getting closer and closer to pro, and a lot of drivers now starting to improve once again. The 68 is coming to the line. I believe there's a 68, so 63. No, is there a 68? It
was a 68, yep. Steve Beck comes to line, no improvement for him on that time. The next car is the 133. That is Cass Brolin. Dennis Hansen improved. Jamie went up to P6 as well, so great debut week for Jamie. Here comes Casper Olin to the line now. He goes P15, so an improvement there at the end for him. The 63 is now coming to the line. That is the old sim racer. Casper Olin, the first driver on the track to finish this qualifying session. And what can old Sim Racer do now?
Yeah, he's fairly happy with the race one. Can he continue that pace? He goes P10. What I was saying about John Goudet earlier on, obviously we've said that he looked a lot stronger and much more comfortable in the Mercedes back in the non-BOP days. He went in the Aston Martin for a season, felt he was quicker and stronger, but we said Mercedes is probably a better bet, and he's now trying to prove a point that Mercedes isn't his stronger car, and maybe that is the fact. But the BOP introduced.
Gary Clarball moving up to P7 at the very end, but like you say, the BOP introduced. It's just not open in qualifying anyway. Here comes Kieran Argent. I sound like you after last night. Now, Kieran Argett to the line, stays P17. DJ Phil to the line. What about John Gooday here? There is the 93 in front of him. That is Richie Michelle. Cannot take pole. John Gooday moves up to 11th. What about the 113 of Francisco Gomez?
Can you catch a flu through the mic?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. Francisco Gomez now moves up into 8th. And now we've got the 204 of Justin Winter, dropped to 13th place due to some improvements at the end. 1.1 off the pole. Has he got any improvement here? He does not. Stays exactly where he is, P13. So Dennis Hansen, Dan, takes pole and just chips away another point from Richie Michelle.
Yeah, those two at the front, clearly the pace of the pack. Currently half a second behind is Robert Smith, but nonetheless he's done a great job to get with him. Stephen Mellington, once again a strong qualifying session for him. Paul Williams, a very strong qualifying, and Jamie showing why he's quite competitive in this league as well. The top 12 all separated by a second and a 10th, with John Gooday in that, so it's still relatively close between the Pro-Am drivers. It's not as big a gap as we was expecting.
No, not as big a gap as we was expecting. Still very close between them all. Once again, as we're getting ready now to do the second race, the hour-long race. So mine and Dan, both our voices have got to last for that entire hour. Obviously, tomorrow night we'll be back live. Myself and Phil Raden will be in the commentary box for Pro. Yeah, I know, terrible. Myself and Phil Raden will be in the box tomorrow night for the Pro Series. And then obviously Dan Davis will be back live next Tuesday for the GT4s at Valencia. Me and Dan will be back live for the Pro-Ams next week on the Wednesday evening as well. As we just input it, I'm just inputting the results for the qualifying. I assume Dan is doing the predictions. Yeah, the poll going up.
The question is, who's got a better clicking noise?
Yours, by far. Gary Clauble, good pace again out that Porsche. You drove the Porsche on Sunday in a race at Bathurst. Wasn't a fan.
Not in the wet, no. Around one of my all-time favourite circuits as well. Not a lot of time testing it and running it, but I might have to get comfortable with it. Well, it depends on what happens this season.
Yeah, exactly. Robert Ramsell down the order today, finished P3, down his 17th place. Where did Millington qualify in that one? He was P4, so a great qualifying from Stephen Millington. Yet again, great qualifying from him. 22nd for Hicks, where he was best. He was down in 24th. So there we go. Pole is out. We are ready to go. Dennis Hansen.
A quick question for not just you, Matthew, but to the fans as well watching the stream. We do like to see you guys get more and more involved. We want to hear you guys in the chat. Catalonia, Barcelona, or Barcelona to Catalonia circuit. What's your opinion on this circuit, man? We haven't really talked much about it. Obviously, it's been the home for the Spanish Grand Prix for a long time. Obviously, there's been a race in Valencia in the past and at Jerez regarding Formula 1. But what do we think of circuit Barcelona to Catalonia? It's an interesting circuit nonetheless.
I'm not a fan of the last sector. That's regardless of the changes they've made or this layout. The first two sectors have a nice flow to them. I like them. They're good. The last sector just gets too tight, too technical, and it kind of takes away from what was a nice circuit in the first two.
So, meh circuit.
Yeah. It's not the worst, but it's certainly not. But anyway, if you were to talk F1 circuits, it's not my top 5.
No, I wouldn't put it in my top 5 in F1. Obviously on ACC.
No, I don't think it makes my top 5 there neither.
No. But it's definitely a circuit that, again, Skunky put it very clearly in the chat there, tyre management is key on this race.
Yeah.
And I think this is why we, like a lot of F1 recent years, has been testing here. He says he loves it. It's a nice flowing circuit. Matt in the chat says pace is looking good for the Pro-Ams. I'm still on the fence of this circuit. I do from time to time enjoy it as a test circuit. It's great for me to get knowledge for race cars, but to race it, I find it quite dull. It's quite boring. There's no great racing opportunities here. Yes, the final sector probably hinders that.
I think this is a track that is better in the wet than in the dry.
Sadly, we've not had any weather sneak in so far.
This is the worst thing. And I'm just going to comment on Skunky's message here. The tyre management in this race, 100%. It's 23 degrees. May bump an extra degree, may drop down a degree because of the time of the day we're at. Tomorrow looks a lot clearer. So when we're talking about the tyre management, tomorrow looks like it could be worse. We know Barcelona from previous seasons when it's been a nice, hot race. Tyre management is so crucial around this circuit, and a tyre change could be possible. Tonight, I'm not sure. I think tomorrow night you're probably looking at maybe a tyre change more than you are tonight. Tonight, for me, is about getting to the end. I think if this was sunny, not overcast and cloudy, I think that the hotness of the sun really hurts you.
Race winner?
Dennis Hansen. You?
I'm going to go Jamie.
There's only one way to find out. Don't forget, hit that thumbs up button, the bell to be notified, and subscribe to the channel if you are new, because we are green and go for round 14 of the season. And Richie Michel has took off like a rocket down the start line. He's already got himself ahead of Dennis Hansen, who's coming under pressure from that of Robert Smith and Stephen Millington. Stephen Millington looking around the outside of Robert Smith into 1. Now up the inside for 2. If Smith can keep it there, he'll have the inside into 3. Jamie might try and follow suit. Millington, though, just tucking in behind. The top 2 checking out and dropping down the pack. Everybody looks like they're away nice and cleanly, Dan, down the pack and down the order. Great to see from the Prime boys already.
Yeah, very much so. Every driver has managed to negotiate the first couple of corners, which is brilliant to see. I say that, and now it looks like Lando Norris has been caught up into some incidences as well. Dean Wasoki's off, Steve Beck is off as well, further back, and so has one of the wind-up motorsport boys. I believe it was Mathew Hicks as well, yes, with Rob Smith as well. So a bit of chaos further back. But Dennis Hansen lost the lead, but he did the thing that he needs to do straight away, which is not let anyone else split them and chase down Richie Michel. Robert Smith has cleared Steve Millington. Meanwhile, Gomez is trying to attack Jamie into the hairpin.
Yeah, he is. He's having a look into the hairpin. Jamie's now gone up the inside, and he's made contact with Millington. Jamie's gone around. Had a bit of a late lunge there from Jamie. Not quite sure. John Goody's got a bit of damage on the front of his car. They're going to go side by side now. Jamie just has to yield from that one and let John Goody through. And up to the lead he goes. But Dennis Hansen trying to get onto the rear of Richie Michel and stick with that Lamborghini a little bit more. Stephen Millington coming under pressure then from that of Francisco, with then Paul Williams, Justin Winter, Luke Saunders, old sim racer John Goody, all with him down the pack as well. Robert Ramsell, his teammates on the back of Brian Craig. Mirko Richie's trying to make up for a poor qualifying here, but Cranky Duckhead's got a queue of cars behind him. I say a queue, it's DJ Phil and the Jackal, and then look just behind them, Ian Best has got that of player man, Steve Beck, Mathew Hicks, Michael as well in the Nissan, who must have got caught up in that lap 1 incident.
Luke Saunders has gone a little bit wide. That's going to allow old sim racer just have a look through the first couple of corners. He's gone a little bit wide though and compromised his line through turn 3. But Luke Saunders himself has gone wide and he's got a little cutback, but not enough to get through. Meanwhile, Jamie is now looking to attack Goudet as well. But everyone's just trying to get back into their formations and try and get themselves into a rhythm. But it's going to be about the top 2 at the minute. Richie Michel and Dennis Hansen, your 2 championship contenders. Robert Smith is now starting to just creep onto the back of him. And Robert Smith always shows that better race pace than he does qualifying pace.
Yeah, I think he does. I think he's not really much of a qualifier. Jamie here just had a mistake coming out of turn 5. That's going to allow Casper Olin to look around the outside into the chicane as Luke Saunders, as the camera pans around, is in the gravel. So he's had an excursion off somewhere and he rejoins now just in front of Mirko Richie as they come up the hill. Lando Norris looks to make a move up the inside of Mirko Richie, but there was a rejoining Luke Saunders as they all now go side by side. Luke manages to rejoin nice and safely. Now look at Robert Smith a little further forward. Sorry, no, that isn't Robert Smith. That was potentially Kieran Argent. Then having a look up the inside of Casper Olin. Didn't get the move done. Brian Craig and Robert Ramsell going hammer and tong as well into the final couple of corners. Brian Craig right around the outside. That could be a lovely move if he gets it done, and he might just have Ramsell. Yep, yields out of that, backs out of that one, and great move Brian Craig around the outside. But the top 3, Dan, stretching their legs, gaps 8 tenths between them all.
If I was Robert Smith right now, I would just be not pressurising Dennis Hansen too much, because he'll start looking in his mirrors and they'll start to lose Richie Michel. Just let Dennis Hansen slowly creep onto the back of the Lamborghini. He knows he's probably got more pace in him, and just allow him to use up their tyres a little bit more. Meanwhile, Justin Winter has cleared Paul Williams, who's lost that position there. But once again, Justin Winter loose as ever with that Ferrari, nearly dropping the rear once again, as old Sim Racer is just trying to get back onto terms with them. Jamie looks like he's had a great run through turn 3 and is now looking to try and make a move on Goudet, but that Mercedes grunt is helping him out once again.
Kieran Argent also got past Casper Brolin. We saw the Justin Winter one. Kieran Argent got past Casper Brolin, went a little deep and forced Casper Brolin right onto the curb of turn 2. Casper gave him a flash, wasn't exactly happy with that, but yeah, interesting one to keep our eyes on there, that battle developing. Brian Craig's trying to get on the rear of Robert Ramsell as well, and if we drop back down to Cranky Ducker, look at that, Steve Beck going side by side with DJ Phil, trying to go round the outside of DJ Phil, who just gives him a little nudge wide there, it looked like, from DJ. And Stephen Beck managing to carry on his way. Rob Smith behind Gary Clarbel. We've got another Dean Wasocki who's gaining on the back of Ian Best. He's got past Mathew Hicks and that of Michael. So Dean Wasocki trying to make a few moves up here on his return back to SimPlay. But back to the front, old Sim Racer putting pressure on Paul Williams now. And Gomez really starting to hassle the back of that of Stephen Millington.
He is indeed. And Stephen Millington just needs to keep his cool. And just these two just need to just work together, not to lose the leaders as much as they possibly can, and just wait for something to happen. Justin Winter has now been cleared of Paul Williamson. What pace has he got in that Ferrari to try and hunt down the leading group? But once again, the gap at the front has stayed relatively same, come down a little bit from the lap before, but Dennis Hansen is now starting to make a little bit of a charge towards Richie Michel.
Yeah, and he's bringing Robert Smith with him down. We're on the rear wing of Richie Michel. You can just see there Dennis Hansen goes a little deep through 1, manages to he's just compromised himself a little bit through 2. That's put Robert Smith right on the rear wing now of Dennis Hansen. Robert Smith fastest lap of the race as well, so just went a little deep at 1, maybe pushing them limits a little bit too much. Very easy done. You saw a few GT4 cars last night go that little bit deep at turn 1. It was very hard to get it consistent, especially with the greasier weather around last night compared to tonight. That track temp still sitting at 23 degrees. I don't think we're going to see much change from it at the moment, but Hansen just got to make sure he nails everything. He's lost, look, 3/10 to Richie Michel, but he's got the pace down to get on the back of him. It's what he can do when he gets there.
Yeah, Jamie, meanwhile, has passed John Goudet. Goudet has dropped down a couple of places. I don't know if there was a flash of the lights from John Goudet, so maybe a contact between one another, but he has dropped down the order. But the top 3 now is Dennis Hansen. That one mistake through the first chicane has really hurt him in this earlier stint. He needs to just keep his tyres and his mind cool and at ease at the minute, because all Richie has to do is just stay in front. That's all he needs to do.
John's still flashing his lights here down the back straight. Was just watching him defend there from Robert Ramsey, who got a heck of a run around the left-hand bend, no, the right-hand bend, sorry, coming onto the second DRS straight. So I don't know quite who John Goudet is flashing, but either way,
Luke Saunders has got major damage.
Going to be interesting. So he's had 2 offs now. So where's he? Yeah, he's had another off. Clarbel's also. So hang on a moment. So Dean Wasocki was ahead of Michael and Mathew Hicks a moment ago. He's now 4 seconds behind them, possibly had his own moment. Gary Clarbel's had a moment, and Luke Saunders have had a moment. They're both behind Dean Wasocki now, so not sure what's happened there. Here's Mathew Hicks on the back here for Michael. Ian Best on the back of Playerman as well, trying to keep with them. Rob Smith with Steve Beck says there's battles no matter where you look at this moment in this race. DJ Phil's ahead of Cranky Duck. Head further forward, Lando Norris trying to get on Brian Craig. And Robert Ramsell having a look up the inside of John Goudet. Backs out of that one. And John Goudet here is in a bit of a train with Argent and Olin and himself, and then Robert Ramsell. And Brian Craig and Lando Norris are slowly gaining on the back of these two as well.
Yeah, we know Lando Norris has got the pace. He's got a little bit of damage to his car as well. I reckon if he cleared Brian Craig, he'd be on the back of this lot in no time. As Casper Olin has gone very wide. That's going to allow John Goudet to have a sniff of opportunity up in turn 4, maybe into turn 5, but all being held up by Argent at this. Oh, and Argent's had a moment. Yep. He's dropped it.
Yep, lost the rear on his own. Argent round he went, just struggling in that BMW, and he drops right behind Lando Norris, although he's actually side by side with him, coming in towards the chicane, and Lando gets that one done now. John Goudet, he's gone around as well, and that looked possibly like it was all on his own there. And well, to quote an Australian I know, John Goudet is not having a good day.
He's not indeed.
Had to get that one in there. Francisco's got past Millington. Dan, just come to the end of that one. Round the outside in towards the last sector. Francisco is ahead now of Stephen Millington. So Francisco and Robert Smith, I said the BMW didn't feel great around here. They're making it work. Robert Smith's still on the back of Hansen. What can Francisco do now he's cleared that Ferrari?
Well, again, the leaders are just kind of faking each other out at the minute, as Richie Michel has now set fastest lap and has pulled a gap of 1.3. So Dennis Hansen is going to start to lose out to that slipstream very shortly. But I think Dennis Hansen's trying too hard at this stage. He's pushing the car too hard, and he's looking more in his mirrors rather than he's looking forward. It's
like Skunky's just said in the chat. It is a bit more of a thinking race. You've got to use your head in this one. You can't be fighting someone at a track like this, sat in the dirty air where you're going to hurt your tyres more than normal. You've got to think about setting them up, maybe look to jump them in the pits, definitely then pile on that pressure at the end of the race. It's not about the start of an hour-long race. It's about how you finish the hour-long race. This isn't the 20-minute sprint where you need to get in as many positions as you can, as quick as you can. This is an hour-long race. This is about setting them up, making sure you're in the best position in that final 5 minutes. We're currently watching Paul Williams, who's got the old sim racer on the back of him. The Ferrari looking pretty good. Paul, old sim racer this season, he seems to have one good race tonight and one bad race tonight, and that seems to be the way his season seems to be going at the minute.
Yeah, it does, and I think again that's just his first night racing, first season racing with us, and just working on his way through the championship, knowing who he can and can't race. Possibly next season he'll be a lot stronger, learning from that. But once again, Dennis Hansen just losing touch now to Richie Michel, and Robert Smith is just there or thereabouts. He's just got to keep an eye on Richie, not to allow him to get too far away. He's only 2 seconds behind, but as soon as Richie Michel seems to get into a groove, the guys can't seem to catch him.
And this seems to be the form of his season, doesn't it? When he's in that rhythm, when he's in that groove, he is as good as anybody on this Pro-Am grid on their day. Robert Ramsell, after qualifying down the order, is up to 11th place. He's now on the back of Cass Brolin. Just going to drop back to Steve Beck. He is side by side with DJ Phil coming into the final couple of corners. That's a move up the inside. Rob Smith may fancy a look here as well, and DJ hangs on in there over Rob Smith, and then you just drop back a little bit more. Look, there is Michael. Ian Best has dropped behind. In fact, Playerman's dropped behind all of these. There's Matthew Hicks, John Goodey, Dean Wasoki's a bit further off the back. And yeah, interesting to see in this race at the moment. Luke Saunders has now got ahead of Gary Clauble. And right, has Luke Saunders pitted? He's a lap down to Dean Wasoki.
He's 2 laps down. Yeah, he's a lap down.
That car's fixed. That car's fixed. Yeah, so he is right. So we've missed Luke Saunders' pit. I thought he just got ahead of Gary Clauble for one stage. You know, he's now got a fresh car. Cranky Duckhead is in the pits. That car looks like it's got a bit of damage to his name as well. So we'll keep our eyes on.
Lando Norris is really pushing Brian Craig right now. Brian Craig, he's a very good defender, seems to be Brian Craig. No one ever really seems to have an easy time of passing him. They never seem to, the 3 and the 4 McLarens, going at it wheel to wheel, and at the minute, Brian Craig just knows where to park the car.
That's Argent, who's just had a big snap mid-corner of the chicane. Apologies, Dan. Really sends him into the wall there. And Kieran Argent, well, that could be big damage on that car. Let's just go and board him. Bonnet's not lifted, but it's got the side of the car that took the brunt of the force, and that could be huge for him. You just see them lights flickering a little bit as he came down the straight. And Kieran Argent there, that was a huge snap mid-corner for Kieran Argent in this one. So that's already going to put him on the back foot. Pit window doesn't open for another 12 minutes.
No, it does not indeed. So you kind of just want to get to the window when the pit window does open, so that you can then offer yourself a strategy. And as well, a lot of the drivers, including myself and probably a few others, are using the track map the entire time just to see where the traffic is, and use another driver as a guinea pig. So if I was Richie Michel, Dennis Hansen and Robert Smith, you'd be looking at Gomez and Steve Millington if they pitted early, and see where they drop in the traffic, so then they can figure out their plan. Obviously, last time out at Snap, I did not do that very well, and Skunky got me towards the end.
That's twice now. It's twice now this season. Laguna Seca as well. I think he did the same thing to you at Laguna.
Yeah, I believe so, but that was just the last week was me trying something new and different, and it didn't work, as Cranky Duckhead gets out of the way of Argent and Brian Craig. And,
well, old Sim Racer
just dropped behind Argent now.
Oh, there we go. Old Sim Racer, by the way, has just pulled off a beautiful move around the outside, up the inside of turn 1. outside of 2, and then had that done before even entering 3 on Paul Williams, so he's moved up another spot. Steve Millington coming back at Francisco, so Francisco's passed him, hasn't been able to drop him, and these 3, Francisco, Millington and Winter, who's kind of not far off the back of Millington, have all been dropped by the top 3, and they're kind of all in their own little space now, out the slipstreams in that clean area, not as dirty by not being as close. This is going to be, you know, an interesting one to watch. Skunky reckons it's going to be 3 times tomorrow that he's going to have that one done on you. Well, hey, let's wait and see. We've seen some interesting racing at Cataluna over the years. Like you say, Lando Norris has dropped behind Argent and behind Steve Beck, so maybe that damage not hurting Argent as much as we thought.
Once again, Michael has started from the back of the grid, and he's 18th place position.
Yeah.
18th. Like we say this every time this guy races. If he'd qualified, where would he have been? He had a race, race 2, he finished 2nd, and he was at a million miles off Steve Millington, who's in 5th.
Oh! So, Ian Best lost the rear. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, carry on.
He's lost the rear coming into the final sector. He's now going to wait because there goes Luke Saunders. Gary Clarbell, his teammate, manages to rejoin, but Dean Wasaki will also get through.
Yeah, as Dennis Hansen has now got within a second of Richie Michelle, and Robert Smith has gone wide in turn 5, and yeah, Robert Smith's pace has just now dropped off and is losing out to the 2 in front who are pulling away, but that's not necessarily game over yet.
No, but that BMW does seem to, about 15-20 minutes into a race, have a bit of a moment where it does sort of die a little bit before coming back, so I wouldn't count him out of this one just yet. If this is that BMW going through X funny stage, and well, let's wait and see. Michael, by the way, just as you was mentioning with qualifying, he was on the back of the Jackal, nearly made his way through on the Jackal there. Paul Williams trying to stick with the old sim racer, and I think that's the closest fight on circuit, Michael and the Jackal. And here goes Michael, having a look up the inside towards the chicane. Could be a great move from the Nissan, and through he goes. What a move by Michael there. So he moves up into P17. And like you said, if this man qualified, where would he be?
Yeah, as I go for a swig of drink. Where would he be? That is the key. And I'm definitely sure that he would definitely be up in the top 10 for sure. I'm currently watching Mirko Ricci at the minute with Brian Craig and Argent as it goes through turn 12 and 13. And Mirko not had the performance like his brother has this week again. Definitely Richie Michel's getting the best out of the Lamborghini, and it's nice to see the 2 Lamborghinis on the grid. You don't see many of them, and again, a shocking... It blows my mind that there's not more Lambos.
Yeah, I agree, to be fair. I'm very surprised at it. There's a lot more Porsches though this year, I think, because we've not had many Porsches. And a few more Ferraris. Obviously, the dominant car last year
a lot more Ferraris.
Was McLaren. We've sort of gone from McLarens to Ferraris. And as Mirko Ricci just a little slow through 1, and Brian Craig really gained on him. There's Argent Beck and Lando Norris you can see in the background as well. And Mirko Ricci probably is one of his worst weeks this season, because he's really stepped up a level this season, hasn't he? He's been really good.
He has indeed, and he's definitely been the support that his teammate needs, and they need it in the team's championship. He's not obviously got the raw pace of his teammate, but he's doing the job. He's scoring points. He's staying out of trouble when he needs to. He's under some pressure from Brian Craig, who's got quite a bit of damage to the back of his car. So Brian Craig trying everything he can to get past that Lamborghini.
Just looking at the leaderboards as well, Dan, Michael's only 3 seconds off the back of this train. So... With the pace that Michael's been having today, look, there's the 5 of them. Argent not as close to Craig as he'd probably like to be. There's Michael. He's really on for maybe picking up a couple more places down the back part of this race. That's a death trap, the Lamborghini Assessment.
I think it's an absolute dream of a car. You're lucky I'm not in it this season.
Lamborghini or Lexus?
That's like picking like your favorite child. You just don't. You can't just answer that. You know.
Maybe. Depends on the day.
That's like me turning around to you going BMW or Bentley.
Do you know what? I'd go Bentley. I would. I do miss it. Yeah, I do. I miss it. Brian Craig's had a poor last sector. Here comes Kieran Argent down in towards turn 1. Argent looking up the inside. Day late, dollar short. Give it back, and also give it to Steve Beck and Lando Norris, because you have just said one. Steve Beck's got past Brian Craig because of all of that. And Kieran Argent, yeah, just too late on the brakes. Lando Norris is now going to pass Brian Craig. Is Brian Craig returning the position to Argent?
No.
Look, very, very slow. It's going to be an interesting one to see.
He's also in the marbles. The marbles have been collected already, as you can see on the outside of the circuit. And there is Michael in the background. He caught the cars up relatively quickly. The gap was 2.1. They're coming into the second end of the first sector now. And, yeah, he's right on the rear wing of him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what Michael's going to do through this one. And so Kieran Argent's got to do it all again. Michael's going to try and gain on them as best he can. Argent's gone. Michael's through. So there we go. Argent, maybe with that damage, just compromising him a little bit, pushing too hard as well. Dennis Hansen.
Seems like he's too early on the throttle in the chicane.
Yeah, and that seems to be the BMW's problem. You followed me on Sunday, Dan, in that BMW, and it was the rear end that seemed very unhappy around here in that BMW. If he's not dialed that out, then that too early on the throttle is going to be his biggest problem.
Yeah, definitely so. Cloud in the chat says, nah, bro, which one? Yeah, Matt, which one? Bentley or BMW?
You said Bentley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
I think he's referring to your Lexus Lamborghini that you never answered and trying to dodge still.
Chevy Camaro.
It's like picking, isn't it, between Ayrton Senna and Michael Schumacher? Which one's better? It's obviously Ayrton Senna.
Brian Craig, meanwhile, is attacking Lando Norris as they go down the main straight. But Brian Craig gets job done, but Lando then sends it back up the inside again, does a Sebastian Vettel, goes one way and then around the other and gets the job done. Now Michael was just sitting on the back of ground as well to try and make his mind up which way he wants to go. Yeah,
he's took it up the inside of Brian Craig right now. That Nissan's got a good bit of pace as it can now power out of turn 3, picking up the throttle halfway through the corner. Look up the inside. He just brakes earlier there and backs out of that one. Brian Craig running a little bit deeper. Not too bad. But if we go on board with Brian Craig here, look at these marbles that Dan's on about. You just see them on the edge of the track.
Sorry, Dennis Hansen has brought the gap down to 7/10, but he's had a massive snap in turn 12 just before the right-hander into the chicane, and he's had a big snap, but he's right on the back of Richie Michel.
On board with Dennis Hansen there, we can just see the marbles. I think the marbles are going to be worse tomorrow night with that sun out. If that sun's out, the marbles are worse here. This is Dennis Hansen. Michael Harris is now asking Lexus or Lambo, and Skunky's asking Lance Stroll or Pastor Maldonado. Well, Maldonado won a race. That's my decision. Dennis Hansen, though, like you said, he's had a big snap. Go on.
And he also won a championship that was meant to be even cars, but didn't then pay his father to end up making the cars less uneven to win a championship. So Pastor Maldonado, easy one.
Very easy one. Like you say, he's had a big snap, but a big moment. But Dennis Hansen is on the back now of Richie Michel. Also, Michael is motoring through. He's on the back of Brian Craig. The next three are right in front of him. Michael could be inside the top 12 here within the next couple of laps.
The other thing that Michael's doing, he's dragging the Jackal with him. Jackal has just been stayed at 2 seconds and just been going with Michael. And as Michael plows his way through the order, he then picks up his, as Michael goes deep into turn 1.
Nearly plows his way through Brian Craig, but he managed to avoid him there into 2-1. But you're right, Dan, as Mirko's lost out to Beck now, so Stephen Beck's got through. So Mirko Richie now has lost out one place, and Beck might be able to start to pull away. But you're right, Jackal's been in that position where Dennis Hansen was a moment ago. Not quite in that dirty air, affecting his car and his performance and his tyres, but just being able to stick with the back of the Nissan. Here comes Lando Norris having a look up the inside of Mirko Richie. He can't do anything through turn 4, down towards turn 5. There you go now, and yeah, very interesting race this one is, and like you say, bringing the Jackal along, and it's going to be an interesting development to the end of this race, that is for sure. With how long's left? What is it? 37 minutes. Pit window opens in a minute and a half as the drive. Oh no, Michael! Oh, Mirko Richie and Lando Norris have made contact. Lando Norris has gone backwards. He's let it roll across the circuit. Michael has had to avoid him there. I don't know where Michael is. He's off on the escape road. But Lando Norris set the car roll backwards. Him and Mirko Richie had a bit of contact together, and Richie's lost the rear.
And, Richie Michel?
No, Mirko.
No, Mirko. Oh, sorry, Richie, we meant the leading Richie. Michael, there you go. Jackal has gained multiple positions, and that's how Michael's been able to help the Jackal do that. As Mirko Ritchie has dropped the rear again.
He can't get this back going.
I don't know why anyone says the Lamborghini's a dress trap. Look at it, it's got enough grip.
Easy target. That wanted to go again there. He's had to come off the throttle. Went your traction control up a little bit. That one will help it getting going. The leaders are within half a second of each other. They're about to lap Mirko Ritchie. Michael's in for that drive-through penalty, so let's keep an eye on his progress as he comes through. Time loss for that drive-through penalty is 30 seconds exactly, so it's going to hurt him in this race. Dan, looking at the temperature of this track, 23 degrees. What are we thinking? Are we thinking a tyre change? We know how bad turn 3 can especially kill the tyres.
I think if you've looked after the tyres, you don't need to. But if you've burnt them out, you flat spotted them, you've set the ABS a little bit too low and you have flat spotted something, then you will be looking at a tyre change. It will be vibrating like an absolute nutcase. You'll be using your teeth.
There's a yellow flag at the chicane. It's Mirko Ritchie. I would suggest that maybe his tyres are done. In fact, he's pitting.
Most likely, or the damage that he sustained from hitting the wall has probably not helped that either. But he has probably flat spotted them, and it's probably bouncing like mad if you're in the cockpit of the car. It's going to be shaking like a
he only needed to wait 10 more seconds. Because get ready.
He just needed another spin.
Just get ready. There you go. His pit stop will not count because he was already in the pit lane before the limit, before the timer came on, so he's going to have to pit twice here in this race. The leaders, though, are together. Do you think Dennis maybe dropped back a little bit to save some tyres?
No, I think he's just got a little bit too close and a little bit too confident. Has just made a mistake somewhere. He's now got to the point that they're on equal pace now. So they're there. He needs to then find that little bit more to then gain that advantage on Richie Michelle. He's so good in this first sector by the looks of things. Then going into the second sector, and then Richie Michelle seems to nail the third and final sector. But while these two are still fighting again, who's in the background slowly creeping his way back in? Robert Smith once again. So Dennis Hansen needs to stop Richie Michelle gaining points on him now. He needs to stop this from happening at this point in the season. Otherwise, he could kiss that championship goodbye.
As well as, by the way, just to point out, Robert Smith's tyres will be in that better situation than Dennis Hansen, who he's took right up behind that of Richie.
The problem is, Robert Smith has had slides and he's had moments, he's been on the dirt, so he's probably worn his tyres out as equal, probably more than the ones in front. 68, that is Steve Beck speeding in the pit lane.
Easy done. We saw Kieran Argent do it, so that's going to be a long hold. That'll be 60-odd seconds, if I'm right, 65 seconds for that tyre loss time change, which is pretty much a stop-go penalty. So that is going to hurt him. We've seen a drive-through then for Michael. I assume it put Michael down towards the back of the pack. No, it kept him out ahead of Dean and Lando are in the pits. Luke Saunders stayed out.
Justin Winter, meanwhile, was right on the rear wing of Steve Merlington. He's had a great run through the final corner and is in the slipstream well and truly behind the fellow Ferrari driver. They are now heading down towards turn number 1. Justin Winter's got to have to send it down the inside. He's close enough. He's going to send it into turn number 1. Steve Millington gives him the racing room. And once again, Justin Winter with that rear end, using it as a kind of defense and hangs out sideways. And Steve Millington had to pull out that one. How he sets those cars up. He's done it with the Porsche. He's done it with the Ferrari. What's the most stable car that there is? Probably the Bentley. Can he get that sideways?
It's like he turns it with the rear, isn't it? It's like a fork truck. Rear steps out. Right, there we go. That's how we've turned through the corner. Skunky, sadly, no, we aren't able to see any tyre information. Stop-go penalty for the 31. I believe that's Cranky Duckhead, who's already a couple of laps down after pitting anyway. So, sadly, we cannot actually get to see any tyre information. All we have in front of us is the lap times when we go on them. So I'm sure Dan will be able to check them and see if there's been a significant drop-off. But, yeah, interesting. Good move, though, from Justin Winter. Old Sim Racers trying to come with them now with Stephen Millington, but gap out front just extended a little, 7/10. And if we drop back down to DJ Phil and Playerman's just been overtaken by Luke Saunders, who's unlapping himself.
Barcelona or Valencia?
Barcelona.
See, I would say Valencia. Obviously the MotoGP Valencia, not the old one.
Oh yeah, no, you're on about the ACC, not the F1. Yeah. Barcelona.
Really?
I just don't like bike circuits, and that's what Valencia is, and I just don't.
Steve Millington's got back in front of Justin Winter again.
It's probably slid somewhere mid-corner.
He's probably killed his tyres.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Could you imagine the sets he goes through? They're only allowed 10.
Yeah, they're only allowed. He probably uses all 10 and probably goes back and uses them again.
You imagine putting an old set on that he slid around in on the rear. That would not be
sat
happy.
there in the Greasy Bandits camp and sitting again.
Yep.
Do you think you guys think I could take turn 3 sideways through most of it like they do in Formula Drift? You know, just what they can do, I can do. Just watch me. You know.
Wait till we see a cloud of smoke as he's coming through it sideways, and he just accelerates
Gary
out.
can get his Porsche sideways. Watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
I can do it in the Ferrari.
Who was it the other year? I think it was Darren Yell on the pad the other year. Remember him coming through a Scully in the 488?
Valencia.
I mean, I like Valencia. It's not the worst track on this gate. It's not the Nordschleife, for example.
Can you, of all people, should know this, and the reason why I prefer Valencia to Catalonia. You, of all people, should know this because it is in the SimPlay history of why I'm quite confident at racing at Valencia.
We've only raced it once.
No, but where have else we've raced in previous games that's similar to Valencia?
Bruno, yeah. Yeah, no,
And where was that? What was that?
A motorbike circuit.
And what was that for me?
Your double points.
My very first win here.
Oh, it was your very first win, yeah. After the mighty D-Bigs managed to hold you and Sutty off for quite a while. Steve Peck's got to do his stop-go for the next time. Justin Winter's going side-by-side with Steve Millington. Yes, no, yes. Touch, rub, bang, wallop. Millington pits.
He does indeed, and now whole sim racers join the party as well. So all Ferrari fighting. Maranello might be sitting again. Oh my God! Don't damage these Ferraris. And meanwhile, in the background, Lando Norris is trying to catch him.
DJ Phil's
a lap down.
Has somebody wiped out the pit limiter board? Because now DJ Phil's got a stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Alpin in the chat. I'm thrilled for Saturday in the Bathurst. It is the 4 hours of Bathurst. If you want to get yourself involved, please send Mathew Duffin a DM on Discord.
He's taking the lead. Dennis Hansen now leads this race, and Robert Smith is, crucially has pitted under this sequence of overtakes. So has Robert Smith possibly pulled a blinder here? But Richie Michelle has lost the race lead, and Dennis Hansen now leads. Richie Michelle has to respond to Robert Smith now as Dennis Hansen goes wide.
I'm just trying to figure out where Robert Smith pulled out. That was Rob Smith who's just passed him, and I can't see Rob Smith's name on the standings.
He's in between Casper Olin and John Goudet, which there's a lovely gap that Robert Smith has dropped into.
Where's Rob Smith?
Rob Smith is down in...
He's 23rd. Right, so he's probably a lap down. And Robert Smith is behind him. He's got a nice bit of clear air in front. This could work out really well for him. Rishi Michelin has lost this race lead. Do the leaders respond to that of the car in front? If you do want to be a part of Bathurst, so please DM Mathew Duffin on Discord and we can get that sorted for the weekend. 4 hours of Bathurst. Top 2 stay out on track. And yes, going back to Bruno. Back to Bruno as well. Was that your double points when we used to run double points? How did it go? One season?
I won that championship, let's just put it that way.
I think it was Argent's fault as well.
I can't remember. I try to forget that race. I love Bruno, but that time round...
forget about Bruno. What a track. Just so unusual.
It was brilliant.
Lovely little circuit. Lovely little circuit. Steve Peck in, DJ Phil in.
It's almost as good as Oscherslaben, eh?
I like Oscherslaben. I like
you
it.
like turn 1, don't you? Especially when you're an Audi R8 up here.
There's older pit lane. There's older pit lane's not bad neither, is it? You know what I mean?
Balls not kills final corner.
For those who don't know what we're all about, go and watch Project Cars season 7 or 6, the final season of Project Cars. Dan hits me up the rear in there and just destroys the rear end of my car. If you want to watch Knockhill, Dan hits me at Knockhill. That's on the GT5 playlist. And if you want to watch Zolder, Season 1 of ACC, the 113 and now the 133 have got stop-goes. That's Francisco and Casper Olin with stop-go penalties for speeding in the pit lane. What is going on here?
Jackal's going to get loads of places here.
Harris on a comeback charge at this rate. Yeah, and if you want to watch season 1 of ACC, go to that. Go to Zolder. Watch how Dan's 10 mile an hour slower than the speed limit going into the pit lane. And me and De Silva could do nothing but rear end him.
I mean, De Silva didn't hit us.
What a driver. I missed De Silva. Good guy. And Ripper.
Ripper, yeah. Some big names.
Dennis in. Richie's following. Years. So the leaders are in. This is going to be interesting now to see where Rob Smith is. Justin Winter puts a lap on. That is Mathew Hicks.
Very cautious into pit lane.
I'm not surprised.
There's the pit board. If you get on board of him, the pit board has gone past the white line. That is probably why people are speeding in the pit lane. Because the pit board is halfway between the first white line and the second white line.
Well, that's going to be an interesting one. Then we've just got on board with Justin Winter, so there's no wonder people are getting a speeding penalty here. This is on now with Robert Smith. He's coming around the final couple of corners. What do these drivers decide to do? Everybody's had to pit now. Who's needed to pit? Michael is 23rd. All I'm going to say is keep an eye on him to see where he's going to end up. Old Sim Racer's done. Dennis Hansen is done. Old Sim Racer is done. Richie Michelle is now only done. He's been jumped. Here comes Robert Smith. Off the limiter is Dennis Hansen. He is gone. And that now puts Robert Smith up another place. And Old Sim Racer did not get ahead, crucially, of Richie Michelle there. But Richie Michelle took a while to go.
Has Richie Michelle done a me at Snap?
Not fully fueled and added a few extra litres.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the reason I lost the race at Snetterton is I put about 80 litres worth, no, was it 80? Yes, or 70 litres worth of fuel in, knowing that I had the race pace to try and extend the gap by 6 to 7 seconds. Too skunky, came in the pits, and it was not enough because it was like 9 seconds is the fuel to be added. So 6 seconds extra to what you should normally add.
I don't know what's happened to Jamie, but he's down in 25th and hasn't done his pit stop.
He had a lag spike earlier. I think he returned to the pits.
Right, that might make sense. So your running order at the moment is Dennis Hansen from Robert Smith, Richie Michelle from Old Sim Racer, who's got ahead of Stephen Millington. Then it's Paul Williams, Justin Winter, terrible pit stop for him. Robert Ramsell is up into 8th. Great for him. He qualified down the order a little bit. After him, I believe it is then going to be the Jackal, because Francisco Gomez and Casper Olin are still in the pit lane doing their stop-go penalties. So then it is, there is the Jackal, look who comes through. Then it's Brian Craig now up into the top 10. Drive through for the 31. That is for track limits. That is the Cranky Duckhead who's already a couple of laps down. John Gooday's up to 11th place.
Justin Winter right now.
Casper Olin's not done his stop go.
What is happening here?
I am so flabbergasted at the moment. I don't quite know. Francisco's done his. They've lost out to Lando Norris. Argent didn't get through on Casper Olin, but Casper Olin hasn't done his stop go. He was behind Francisco when he came into the pits. He's not done his stop go.
Oh, God.
Well, righto. Yeah, Justin Winter's gaining on Paul Williams for P6 and 7 in this race, but there's been so many penalties here, and Casper Olin hasn't got rid of his yet.
Yeah. And Cranky Doghead's still got another one to serve. And if they're taking track limits as well, then I don't know what is going to happen. Anyway, back to a question. Monza or Imola?
Monza.
Nah, Imola.
I like Imola, but it just seems overdone at times, I feel. Don't know, I just feel like I've driven it so much this year that it's like... do you know?
And you don't think you've driven Monza so much?
Not this year. No, I just feel like this year I've driven that much. In general, yeah, probably, but I don't know. At the moment, I think Imola for its history, but at the moment, I'd have to swing Monza because I just feel like I've driven Imola so much, and it's like.
I feel like Imola's more of a reward if you nail it. Monza is like, yeah. If you nail Imola,
especially when you got Janettas in reverse on the Star Street.
Especially when you've got the BMW M2s around there. Oh, they are a challenge.
Oh, that was fun.
Meanwhile, Michael has cleared Steve Beck. Obviously, regarding the drivers we do have here, we do have another group with us in this championship, which is FBR. A fantastic group of lads, and a majority of them you see in the chat. Paul Williams, Steve Beck, in racing at the minute. Fat Bloke, Robert Smith. There's loads of them in this chat, in this championship, in this league. They do run a Sunday series where they basically done a Sunday shakedown, and it's kind of like a kind of a free practice session or race session for the SimPlay racing. So last Sunday they raced at Catalonia, and it's a good test session for drivers as well. So you do want to go and check out the FBR boys. They are massive support here at SimPlay Motorsport, so please go onto their server and give them massive support. And if you're free on a Sunday and want to do a little bit of extra testing for Valencia or anything like that, then head over to their channel as well. But obviously the most important thing is the Bathurst 4-hour, which is on Saturday. But please go and support the FBR boys, because they support us on the channel, and it'd be great for you guys to go and support them, because if it wasn't for them, our channel wouldn't be where we are now, and the rivalry that we have.
Yeah, exactly, and as well, a massive support to the new guys that's coming in, the likes of Skunky and everybody that's coming in and bringing in so many new faces. It's great to see. But like Dan says, the FBR channel, like it is a shakedown. It's 2 20-minute races. It's good to kind of test your sprint fuel, test your setup, and also check out other people's paces, as well as while there's a little lull in the race. Don't forget to go and check our Patreon out, which you can see in our Discord server. For £3 a month, you get all kind of perks. You get a reserved driver number. You get priority access to sign-ups and events, which means the Patreons will get that sign up as Rob Smith just takes a bit of track limits we've just seen on our cameras. That's a drive-through penalty for him. That's going to give Michael yet an extra spot. You get that priority access to sign ups, so the drivers in the Patreon will get the sign ups before other drivers in the channel. Track suggestions, which like we've seen this year, we've had Emmanuel Machado and Phil Radin, who picked Snetterton and Mizano for the tracks this year. Robert Ramsell is in the Patreon for next year, or for next season. That'll give him a track to pick up for next year that will be on the calendar. You will get some pre-season promo images done by our very own Dan Davis, if you wish to have a picture of your car done ready to go on the socials or things like that, and also automatic shares to social media. And if you think of any other thing that could be implemented on the Patreon or anything, make sure you're in the Discord and get out to the suggestion page, give us a message, whatever it may be. Just give us a few suggestions on that. As Alpin said in the chat and Dan said a moment ago, you see there the finale of the Endurance Championship, Bathurst. It's no longer a 6-hour, it's a 4-hour due to G-Portal problems. This is also starting earlier in the day, so it should be an absolute cracker. Depending on the amount of cars on the grid that day is whether there will be a broadcast. But what we are going to do as a social media page, so follow us on Instagram especially, we'll try and get, if there is no stream, some social media page, some links to the Twitches or YouTubes of drivers racing that day out to you guys, so you're still able to watch and show some support. 18 minutes 54 seconds left in this race. Dennis Hansen 2.5 clear of Robert Smith, with Richie Michelle lapping that of Steve Beck with the fastest lap in P3, 7 seconds behind. Old Sim Racer's not doing bad. Steve Millington in P5 just behind him. Paul Williams P6 with Justin Winter in 7th, still hanging his car sideways. Robert Ramsell's P8 from the Jackal up into P9. Great race from the Jackal. Michael could have been there with him had it not been for that earlier drive-through. And Brian Craig rounding out the top 10.
Just in the suggestions there, Tipping has put in a question for you both. If you could bring another track to this game, which track would it be? And I'm going to say, added to that, why?
I've got two. And I'll give you my first reason.
By the way, Michael has cleared Gomez.
Yeah, just seen that.
He's just clearing cars. Every time I see him
looks good.
The car, he's already passed it.
Do you know what he asked me today? Can I change car, or is it not allowed in the championship? I said, sadly, my friend, it is not allowed. I bet he's not bothered about that decision now, is he? I bet he's going to come away from tonight and go, do you know what? I'm glad I'm in this Nissan. Matt Hick maybe in for a top 10. Hey, what a debut that could be for the young man. Let's see what he can do. Mathew Hick's doing well at the moment. What track would you bring back? This is a great question. I've got two, whether I'd bring one back or do it. We've seen this game. They've done the American GT. They've done the British GT. Get the Asia GT pack. If we can get the Asia GT pack, we're going to be getting Fiji. We're going to be getting Sugo, Okayama, which I don't really know a lot about. But the one for me that I'd have, Sepang, would be on the Asia GT pack. Get the Malaysian circuit on this game. Justin Winter drive-through penalty. So Sepang for me, but Interlagos, purely because history, and it is my favourite circuit. That and Donington are my two favourite circuits. Dan?
Interlagos, that's a bold one. The thing obviously, Matt, you know me, and obviously everyone can kind of guess by the name of my gamer tag. I like very unorthodox style circuits. There's always been really weird and random circuits I've always picked, not back in the Project Cars days, but here as well. Just look at the selection this season. It was Bathurst, Mount Panorama. A lot of people love that. But one that sticks to my mind that I would love on a game like this is we've not seen a street circuit yet on ACC or anything like that. So I would love to see Long Beach. I love Long Beach. It's one of my all-time favorite circuits. Yes, it's a street circuit, but it's the challenge of it, the bumps, the tightness of it, and just flirting with the walls. The other street circuits, yes, we have too many street circuits that are too modernized these days, but for me, Long Beach would be epic. And I think there's a lot of American circuits that are not really explored enough. The IndyCar series really shows that, and also V8 supercars have some fantastic circuits. Surfers Paradise is another one that would be awesome to race. Imagine the GT4s bouncing over the curbs over Surfers Paradise. Could you imagine that? Adelaide is another fantastic street circuit, you know. But out of all of these, I would love to see Istanbul Park. Istanbul Park would be an awesome one. Yeah.
I don't really disagree with you. You say about a street circuit, again, do you know, if they was to update the Fanatec GT World Challenge, the European Series, they have been to Manicourt this year, another fantastic circuit. They've also been to, they're going to Jeddah.
Just again, sorry, Michael has caught another car. He's now on the back of Player Man.
He's flying, isn't he?
He's going to hit a wall now because he's a lap down to Argent, I believe.
No. He's on the same lap. That's just because he hadn't crossed the line at the time, so he's all right. Yeah, they're going to Jeddah, which is interesting. Tip saying Long Beach, so much fun. Jay in the chat, Sepang is an awesome circuit. Clouden says, give me Sebring. It's funny you say Sebring. I'm looking at the GT America for next year. Sonoma, Sebring, Virginia, Road America, Barber Motorsport Park. I'm then looking at Fanatec GT Asia, Sepang, Chiang, which is in Thailand. Don't know anything about it. Why not? Sugo, Fuji, Okayama, Shanghai.
Yeah. I mean, Alexis would love Shanghai. That was it. Is it 1 kilometer? Is it one? No.
Yeah, the back straight, whatever it is.
Yeah, a mile long straight or whatever it is. Or is that India that has the mile?
I'm not sure.
Could you imagine India as well?
Oh, don't. It'd be ridiculous. Also, you're looking at GT Australia, Phillip Island, the Shell V Power Motorsport Park, Queensland Raceway, Sydney Motorsport Park, you know, as well as your rounds at Bathurst. They don't sadly race it. Here comes Michael Harris looking up the inside of Player Man, then down towards the hairpin. Sorry, I keep calling him Michael Harris. I'm used to commentating on Michael Harris on a 39. Michael going up the inside then of Player Man at the hairpin, but Player Man fights back at him. Also, just looking at that GT World Challenge, and their season hasn't done. They are at Barcelona. No, their season is done. I don't know why it says there's 14 days. Oh, no, there is 14 days till the 6 hours of Jeddah. So you've got Jeddah there. We've had what is unusual. Hockenheim they've done this year. That'd be an interesting one. Manicourt, another interesting one. Bahrain, you see it in the World Endurance GT's race there. Bahrain, they did Interlagos this year. Just so many circuits. It'd be brilliant. Istanbul. I do like your Portimao. Oh, what a track! What a track! Here comes Michael to the inside of turn 1 on Player Man. Up the inside goes Michael. Thank your mama for the carrots. He has made some overtakes tonight. What a job from Michael in this race. Brian Craig's catching on to the back of the Jackal now as well. Where is Argent? Turn 4.
By the way, Matthew Hicks has passed Gary Klarbel, and now Lando Norris is onto the back of him. So Matthew Hicks, with now Justin Winter doing this drive, I don't think he's gonna. No, Matthew Hicks is not nearing to gain on that. But another mistake from another driver in front. John
Gooday's got damage.
He has. Significant damage at that as well. He's not sticking to Brian Craig. The drive-through has been cleared for Justin Winter. He's not lost that much. He's lost out to Robert Ramsell.
Harris is going to trademark his surname, so I don't keep calling Michael Harris. Again, Qatar, bit of a bike circuit for me. I don't mind it because it's different in the F1 because of so many street circuits. But yeah, I'd love to see Thruxton as well, to be fair. Just looking at Sebring, Fuji, Istanbul. Tips?
Thruxton would never work.
It wouldn't. Tips, what would you go for? Go on, you was the one who asked the question. What would you go for, Tips?
Well, the rest of the guys, any guys.
I really like it. I don't think it'll work though, but Montreal, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. I love that track.
I mean, we are playing a GT game and we are looking at GT cars. Why not Le Mans? We got the Nordschleife. Why not Le Mans?
Yeah. Could you imagine that? Oof, that'd be an interesting race.
Oh my God! Steve Millington has just come through Old Sim Racer, and in the middle of that was a BMW of who was it? I think it's Francesco.
It's the 113. Yeah, it's Francisco.
He was in the middle of all that, and he was trying to get out of the way, and they just kind of all just shoved him out of the way. So poor Francesco just trying to work his way through the order. Richie Michel has not really been pulling away from Old Sim Racer. Sim Racer's kind of stuck with him. Steve Millington's with him as well. So with him trying to clear traffic, Richie Michel has got no answer for the top two now.
He died in race 1, Dan, didn't he? And it looks like he's died again here. He's lost out now to Rob Smith. That gap is 9.3 seconds. Just dropping back to the Jackal and Brian Craig there, within 7/10 of each other. Michael is 13 seconds behind Argent. Keep your eye on that. It's going to be a big ask with 10 minutes left to go in this race. Mathew Hicks is 13th. He's back behind Gary Klobel, so not sure what's happened to Mathew Hicks there. Mugello. Oh, yes. Love that. Love that shout.
Cello would be awesome. I think we've ran it once.
No, we haven't, because it was a DLC track on Project Cars. And we didn't run it. Which was a... oh, no, or did we? Did we run it one season? Because I think we just went... well, you know, you've had the game long enough now. If you ain't got the DLC,
I think we might have done Formula Renault in them, possibly.
Wow. Beautiful circuit.
In another championship. Yeah, shame when Formula 1 went there, it was absolute chaos.
Drive-through clear. Karangi's had another drive-through. Poor guy. Poor guy.
He's 9 laps down.
Yeah. Stop going.
Is he still going?
Hey, you know, credit him at the end of the day. Right, Brian Craig's just dropped off the back of the Jackal a little bit. If you could see... right, so it is a question for you then, Tips. We've obviously got the Corvette, which is coming to British GT as well next year. We've seen it in GT America. We've got the Aston V8 Evo. If you had to pick between them two, which car would you like to see come to Assetto Corsa Competizione?
A modern updated version of the Lexus.
It's only just in testing though, so that's why I've gone the Corvette or the Aston V8 Evo.
I'd love to see a modern version of the Lexus. Like, we've seen it a few times being brought back into the World Endurance Championship. The Corvette would be awesome. Another car that I would definitely be interested to race in. But I would love to see another side series car championship turn up. We've got the Ford Mustang. Why don't they just adapt and try and make a Chevy Camaro and another Ford Mustang and bring the V8 supercars to the ACC?
Why not bring the Ford Mustang GT4? So the new Lexus that's hopefully going to make its 2026 debut. The president of Lexus is hoping that it's going to be in the GT3 category for 2026. It's also being developed by Toyota, who are developing the new Lexus GT3 car. So
of course, because Toyota owns Lexus.
Yeah, so they've been testing at Fuji. And a few of the Japanese tracks.
Interesting news. I don't know if I told you this, but obviously V8 supercars is purely Holden, Ford Mustangs, and Chevy Camaros. Toyota are now going into supercars.
I did see that the other day, and I was meant to send it. Yeah.
What a strange.
They're also entering
car.
They're also entering. I don't know if many people have seen the American touring cars. You can tell there's a bit of a quiet spell in this race, but the American touring car is pretty dominated by Honda Civics and the newer Honda that's out there that we've seen in TCR in the UK. A couple of BMWs, but older BMWs, and Mini Coopers, which seems bonkers. Toyota are also entering that. So they're trying their hand at what seems to be a few of the touring car series as well.
Road Atlanta, great track, says Andy.
Beautiful.
I don't like it. I cannot stand that circuit. It's too bumpy. It's way too bumpy.
I think that's what makes it a challenge. A bit like Alton Park. The difference is you can actually overtake at Road Atlanta.
Again, I'm not sure about that one. But, yeah. I'm just trying to think of GT cars. You know, most of them we have, really.
I'd love to see the Mustang GT4, because obviously we see it in the British GT. That'd be one I'd like to see. Oh, obviously, as well, December 22nd, it is a Sunday evening. The FBR boys don't have an event on, so we're hoping to put on a bit of a fun event, like an end-of-year event just before Christmas. BMW M2, Ferrari Challenge, Super Trofeo, and Porsche Cup. 8 of each. It'll be first come, first serve. The sign-ups will be on the SimGrid and SimGrid only because we are changing the way we do our sign-ups for next season. So please make sure you keep your eyes out for that. Obviously, the Patreon members will get first come, first serve for that one, and then it'll be posted in the sign-up page on the Discord. TOCA, best racing game ever made. 100% TOCA 2, the greatest racing game ever. Which is sad, right? I'm a huge Matt Neal fan. Matt Neal never made it on a video game until this came out. 3-time touring car champion, and he's in this. Jesus, on the very. He's on this on the very. It was Jamie Brazier who told me. Of course it was, mate. It was on this. He did the Bathurst 12-hour in the very first Audi. Him and Gordon Shedden. It's a green. I think it's BP liveried Audi. Very first one. Matt Neal, Gordon Shedden, and somebody else. He never made a touring car game, and the first game Matt Neal ends up on at 50 odd years old is ACC. 5 minutes left in this race. It is still Dennis Hansen who leads from Robert Smith with Richie Michelle rounding out the podium. Steve Millington starting to put some pressure on the back of Old Sim Racer. If you had to pick a TOCA 2 car, what was your go-to car on the career? That's a question I'll go back to in a moment. That was Paul Williams is P6 with Robert Ramsell P7. Christ. Justin Winter is P8 from the Jackal with Brian Craig breathing down his neck. John Gooday's 11th from Gary Clarble who's gaining on him. Both of them have damage. Mathew Hicks P12 with Lando Norris, Kieran Argent. Michael's got the gap down 7 seconds to Kieran Argent. And it's Fireman Steve Beck, Francisco Gomez, Rob Smith, Ian Best, Casper Olin, Dean Wasocki, DJ Phil, Luke Saunders, Mirko Ritchie, and Cranky Duckhead.
That TOCA game's way before my time. I played it, but it's way before my time. I can't even remember. I can remember the Volvo. I think it was the Volvo S40.
Yes.
I think what it was. But I've actually sat in the Renault Megane. Is it? Laguna. Yellow and blue.
That's my favourite ever one.
I sat. I think was it Menus? Was it? Was it
yep.
Menus? Yeah. I sat in the Menus Renault.
I sat in his Laguna, but the Nescaf green one.
I sat in the first Williams, I believe it was. Yeah. And I was only like 2 or 3 years old, and my dad came to take it with me. I've also sat in Jenson Button's VAR Honda.
Nice.
Another drive-through for Player Man as well. So the penalties galore.
Here we go. Old Sim Racer going up the inside of that Steve Millington going up the inside of Old Sim Racer and down in towards turn 1. He's got it done before turn 1 on the brakes and into the corner. Andrew saying Honda Type R, Accord Type R, Tip saying the Honda as well.
Yes,
Jay saying the Audi A4, which would have been, no, I think it wasn't the old the four-wheel drive because they banned that in the touring cars and made it rear-wheel drive. Nissan Primera, I tell you now, you go back and play this game, you could not spin the Nissan Primera. Every other car span. You tap them on the rear, around they went. Old Sim Racer's coming back at Millington here. Millington has a bit of a twitch, and that's going to allow Old Sim Racer back through, but Millington has that inside line into turn 5, looking for the up and under. Goes Old Sim Racer now, we can't get it done. And there we go. In that one. Yeah, it has to be for me either the Honda Accord, the Volvo S40 or the Renault Laguna. There's no splitting them for me. I loved how as well, by the way, you always replace the second driver. So if you went to Volvo, you replace Gianni Morbidelli. You went to Honda, you replace Peter Cox. You went to Renault, you replace Jason Plato. Out you go, Mush. I'm here. Goodbye.
This is going to be a shocked driver of the day vote, because I've not picked any of the top 3, because I feel like their first race weren't their strongest at all. I feel the 4 other drivers I'm going to put down have had a stronger night than them, although they're not at the top of the minute, but they've had a much stronger night. There is the pole at the minute. Your drivers there is Steve Millington, Michael, Old Sim Racer, and Paul Williams. If you do not agree with me, then put obviously what you think in the chat. Monkey Boy, the 99 Honda,
of course, he'd say that.
Holding onto that possession. Here's a question to everyone: best touring car ever made?
Williams Renault.
The Audi.
Williams Renault.
That's the Audi.
The 1998.
The Audi was so dominant, it had to be banned.
The 97. Yeah, true. The 97 Williams Renault with Alain Menu, and it pains me to say it, Jason Plato. No, the Nissan Primera of the independent driver Matt Neal from 1999 when he won £250,000 for an outright race win at Donington Park, that Nissan then went, because you're an independent driver, we're not giving you our engine information anymore, and had to nerf the independent driver because he outdid the works team. There we go.
The Subaru legacy. Just because it caught fire at Thruxton when I was there. It was so dangerous, they had to pull it out of racing. The Volvo.
Dear. Oh, God,
the
yeah.
Volvo.
The estate.
Anything estate. The Honda Civic estate.
Anything... days, that was horrible.
I've ever seen, and the Honda's disgusting as it
And
is.
Gordon Shedden nearly won the championship in that. Jeez, this
GT car. This GT car that I forgot to mention, a modern upped version of the NSX.
What's wrong with that?
That's what I mean. That we'd like to see a new, version of the NSX.
Yeah, I agree. And the Bentley. And
E36,
obviously there's
the Corsa cloud and says E36.
There's it's in his name, isn't it? Obviously, we need a new Bentley. We're getting a new Lexus. We need a new.
Drivers on the final lap, by the way.
They are. Dean Wasocki there. He's got a bit of damage. He's pulled off the track to let the leaders through. So Dennis Hansen is on that final lap of this race. We've been waffling for a little bit. Not a lot's been happening now out there at the moment. Luke Saunders coming under pressure now.
Brian Craig's been sat on the
DJ
back
Phil.
of Jackal, but not really been able to do anything. I'm sorry to the Pro-Am drivers, but we've got a little bit off on a tangent. The next crazy one I was then going to come up with, the greatest rally car of all time.
Audi Quattro Rally, was it Rally B? Back in the day?
Group B.
Group B.
Group B was just a crazy era. The MG6R4 was just crazy. Engine in the back of the thing. Then you've also got E6.
Was it?
No, the 036 actually destroyed Audi's run. And Lancia was absolutely brilliant with the 036.
Is that the little one with the Martini livery?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant car.
That car, though, the rules in rally as well, you had to produce, I believe it was 200, was it either, I can't remember, it was either 500 or 200 odd cars they had to produce as actual cars you could go and buy. Lancia had only made half, decided to show the FIA the first half at one location, took him out to dinner somewhere else, moved the entire lot to another car park, and then took him there and showed them the other half, and that proved to them that they had enough cars to then go racing to make it cheaper.
Well, Dennis Hansen's into the final chicane. We're going to have to leave the car talk there for the time being, because Dennis Hansen, what a strategy. He got jumped on the line by Richie Michel, but he comes to the line now, and Richard Hansen is your race 2 winner. Robert Smith will come home for an impressive second place. Richie Michel, P3. Won't be disappointed with it, but it's just points he's lost in this championship over the top 2 there. He takes the fastest lap. Steve Millington, P4, actually got really close to Richie Michel at the end by 0.8 of a second. Old Sim Racer, a P5, solid night for him. Paul Williams, great race, P6. It's going to be a tough driver of the day, that is for sure. Robert Ramsell, what a night for this young man as well. These two of the Cam Racing team just seem to be getting stronger and stronger as this season goes on. Lando Norris has finished 14th, Roger 15th, Michael 16th, Steve Beck 17th, Francisco Gomez 18th. Here comes Robert Ramsell for a P7. Justin Winter now comes in to the final chicane. This is going to be a P8. And Dan, Richie Michel there nearly got done by Millington at the end.
Yeah, nearly indeed, as Justin Winter come to the line. Brian Craig was having a fight with the Jackal. The Jackal has dropped down further behind. I think he's lost a bit of time to him, so Brian Craig is going to come home for 9th. Jackal in 10th. That will complete your top 10. And John Goudet, not the night for him either. And Mathew Hicks is still fighting a back marker. That is DJ Phil, because he's still trying to get past Gary Klarbel at the minute as they're in the final sector. So Mathew Hicks still trying to find a way past on Gary Klarbel. Lando Norris came home for 14th. Argent 15th. 16th was Michael. 17th was Steve Beck. 18th was Gomez. 19th was Ross Smith, Playman 20th, Ian Best 21st, Casper Olin 22nd, Luke Saunders 23rd, DJ Phil will finish in 24th, and Gary Carball does hang on to that 12th place position ahead of Mathew Hicks. Mirko Ritchie, the night to forget, 26th position, and in the end it was Jamie and the cranky duckhead in the end. Jamie ended up leaving the session, I think. I can't get onto him. So Jamie not on the board.
Yeah, but you said a possible connection lag spike that he had, so possibly again down on that lag spike there. Player man ended up crossing the line. Where's he? He's 20th. Casper Olin was down in 22nd. Not a great night for Casper Olin either, when his teammate needed his help in that constructors. Lando Norris 14th place. Cranky Duckhead down in 28th. We had Luke Saunders, not a very good second race. He had that damage early on. Dean Wisocki 25th at the end of that one. Francisco as well was down the order. Was he? Can't quite see his name. Yes, he is. There he is, 18th place. Kieran Argent crossed the line and he was 15th. We then had Old Sim Racer, who was up the order in, I believe, 6th place. No, I've lost the order now. I've lost the order. I'll find that one in just a second and see where we was in a moment. Then Dan, it's been a tricky night before we head over into the Discord chat. Just give us your final opinions, because that was an interesting night's worth of racing.
It was, and then it just died down towards the end, which is very typical Barcelona-esque style. I think people would just, just save the tyres and get to the end. But at the end of the day, it has produced some great racing. Dennis Hansen brings that gap down, but not as much as he probably would have wanted. Driver of the day is going to be incredibly hard to vote for at the May. It's going the way of Paul Williams, 12 votes at the minute. It could be literally any one of those drivers at all, because they've all had fantastic nights worth of racing. I think another league, what they've been starting to do is get the drivers to vote for driver of the day as well. So it might be something that we might look into in the future. Yeah, for me, Matt, it's been a kind of dramatic but not dramatic night's worth of racing. The rain never came in the end as well. We were promised rain and there was none in the end. And for me, driver of the day is going to have to go the way of Steve Millington. He's been brilliant this evening.
He has been brilliant. What we're going to do is head into the comms box now on the Discord for any driver interviews. But I'm also going to go Stephen Millington for the driver of the day. We'll be back in a moment. And we're in the commentary box on the Discord server now then for the final podium vote. But yeah, Stephen Millington, great drive from him today. It's been a great performance from him and by him in this race this evening. What a night of action it has been here at, I believe my microphone has just decided to, no, it's still there, still connected. So yeah, it's been a great day of action from that of Stephen Millington. What a day from him. What a drive though, Dan, from most of these drivers. It's really been an interesting race.
Yeah, very much so. You're a little bit quieter than what you were earlier on. Yeah, and I think as well the man to really look at tonight was Dennis Hansen. Race 1 didn't really go his way, but that race 2, he was a little bit impatient at the beginning of the race, but he kept his nerve and he eventually did get Richie Michelle. And yeah, as Phil says, your microphone is quite low on that one, so you need to turn it up, Matt. But yeah, another dramatic night's worth of racing here at Catalonia, and hopefully the championship will get a little bit tighter, but Richie Michelle still looking like he's got a strong hold of this championship.
Yeah, indeed he does. Not sure if that has changed anything.
You still sound relatively quiet to me.
USB is not picking up my microphone. So Dan, I'm going to have to leave this one for you to close because it's not picking up. It doesn't look like I've got any driver interviews.
Well, no, we haven't. But the championship standings, I believe, has been updated or will need updating at some point. It is still Richie Michelle leading the way going into the next Spanish round of the championship, and that will be at Valencia. We are getting to the back end of the season. There's Valencia next on the calendar, but we've still got some fantastic circuits yet to come with, I'm trying to get the calendar up now. Valencia is next on the calendar, followed by the Land of the Rising Sun at Suzuka, followed by Circuit of the Americas, and then the final doubleheader in Great Britain of Alton Park and Donington Park, the home of SimPlay Racing. And like I said, it is all up for grabs still in this Pro-Am Championship, and myself and Matt will return next Wednesday to not just talk about Pro-Am racing. We'll bring you another which car would you pick scenario next time out, Le Mans cars. But for myself and Matt and everyone here at SimPlay, I think that's pretty much wrapping it up. And I don't know if Matt can say any more, but that's me done. And I hope you enjoyed the stream, and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified. If you do want to be a part of the action here at SimPlay Motorsport, head over to our Discord and the Sim group, get yourself signed up, do the hot stints. And if you do also want to help us out at the channel as well, and you want to a volunteer to help out run the channel, then please put your name forward in the site and the job applications. It's not paid, sadly. It is voluntary work as like a club or something. We always need stewards, we always need extra commentators. So you do fancy being a pundit like myself and Matt, then we can get that all sorted. But I think that's a wrap, and we'll see you tomorrow night with Phil and Matt bringing you the action for the pro category. And if Matt does anything else to say, then it's down to him.